Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's RevPro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
What do you guys want to talk about?
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
So no, I'm not taking it. Listen, I am more than happy to be the butt of a joke or to be self-deprecating. I think everybody knows that. They've been listening for 10 years, okay? Not on this one, because I am not taking an L on this, okay? So no, this one, I'm not taking this L, okay?
Rich Frage.
Joe, are you ready for Roadblock End of the Line?
Roadblock End of the Line.
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 Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line.
Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line.
Roadblock End of the Line. Roadblock End of the Line seems to have some buzz. There's a lot of buzz for Roadblock End of the Line.
It really does.
All right, and we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? How are you?
How are you, sir? You know, this is a big-time show this week. We've got the Tuesday Night War to discuss with all of the ratings fallout and Tony Khan slowly losing his mind. And we've got WWE Fastlane, vroom, vroom.
Yeah, we were told last week, Joe, what a comedy of errors. We kept calling it Roadblock End of the Line. It wasn't Roadblock End of the Line at all. It was WWE Fastlane. I don't know how that. I don't know how that happened. I usually have my WWE calendar down to the to an exact science, but apparently we called it Roadblock End of the Line all last week, and it's actually Fastlane. I don't. That's what I was told. I didn't listen back, but I don't know. It seems not. That doesn't seem like us.
I don't believe it. I don't think we would make an egregious error like that for such a very important PLE. So perhaps those listeners need to clean out their ears. We also have more CM Punk news, believe it or not. This man just will not go away. We will talk about
little by little. He's trying to stay around. He's trying. He really is, but we'll see.
We'll talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Destruction in Ryogoku event that happened a few nights ago, and they've got the big Royal Quest III show coming up. The Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame ballots came out this week, and there's some interesting new contenders to talk about there. Plus, we're going to plug the shit out of our upcoming Observer Hall of Fame coverage behind the paywall, which is always something a lot of people enjoy. We want to touch on the West Coast Pro 5 show coming up, and I know people wanted us to talk about the MLW show coming up this weekend. We'll review it next week. And
hold on.
I need to catch up on some MLW.
Hold on. I did not agree to that.
We'll review it next week.
For the record, I did not agree to that.
Rich will be forced to watch it, and we'll review that next week. And then we'll preview the NWA show next week, too. People asked about the NWA show. So we will, for all of you MLW and NWA mutants out there, we will talk about both of those promotions next week.
You're going to get Impact too next week because I'm going to Bound for Glory next weekend. So you're going to get Impact, NWA, MLW. So that should be one of our highest attended live shows and probably our most downloaded show of the year. When you hit the big time NWA, MLW, Impact Wrestling triad there, it should be a tremendous show next week. Huge show next week.
Yeah, the point here is, though, I don't think that there's another wrestling podcast on earth that's going to spray to all fields, so to speak, the way that we do and talk about literally everything, which is why I think it's only fitting Then on this week's show, despite all those big topics, we open up with Fuminori Abe versus Takuya Nomura.
Yes, we are the Fighting Detectives. Let's go.
Yeah, and a very small produce show in front of about 400 people in Shinjuku Face in Tokyo, Japan. Because here's the thing. That's what we do here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We cover everything. And this match happened about, 10 hours ago or something like that. And this is a match that already I am seeing 5-star buzz. I am seeing match of the year buzz. I have even seen some people say that this is the match of the decade. I have even seen, so currently on Cage Match as the, I was going to say as the crow flies, but that's not the proper analogy. As we speak on Cage Match, this match is sitting at 9.74, which is pretty much as high as you're going to get. In terms of a Cage Match rating, there's with 34 votes coming in. So not, it's not like 6 people have rated this thing. So it's got a ton of buzz. And I figure, why don't we just talk about that quickly since it happened this morning?
Let's do it.
And what other podcast is going to talk about this match?
That's going to have this amount of listeners. That's going to have this amount of listeners, too. That's Emerald Flow Show on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network.
They'll probably talk about it.
I'm sure they will.
Yep. Match. But other than this show and Emerald Flow Show, seriously, who's going to talk about this Fuminori Abe Takuya Nomura match? And the fact of the matter is, people need us. They need us because it would just get ignored otherwise. And in our little corner of the world, that's not going to happen. Okay? You guys can bury us all day long. Listen, Rich, I'm feisty today. If in case you had,
I can tell. Let's go. Okay? I like it.
I'm not feeling great. Okay, I've had a rough one, and I'm feeling a little feisty. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, you guys can rip us all day long for covering the NWA pay-per-views, and nobody cares. They always stink. Why do you cover these things? The same reason we're going to open up the show with Fuminori Abe versus Takuya Nomura, because if not us, then who? And if not us, then what happens to the wrestling media landscape without this show? They need us, Rich. They need us. And that's what we're here for. To talk about matches like this that don't need to fall into the seat cushions of the wrestling media world. So let's do it. What'd you think of the match?
Fucking loved it. Yeah, this started getting some buzz when I woke up, and people were like, "Oh my god, you got to watch this match! You got to watch this match!" And first off, I'm thinking, okay, how do I even? What is this thing even on? Or seeing Fuminori Abe versus Takuya Nomura, I had no idea what is it on. Big Japan World Core or whatever. Is that still a thing? I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore. I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to find this thing. And then people say, no, it's on Wrestle Universe. And Wrestle Universe, this is a good time to talk about them as well. The best wrestling streaming service by far. Now, we're going to see what New Japan World does when they have their little update. When things they claim that a lot of things are going to get fixed and a lot of things are going to change with New Japan World, and that's well and good. And I'm fine. New Japan World mostly works okay for me. I rarely have any problems with it. But then you watch Wrestle Universe, and I watched this show from Shinjuku Face, like you said, 400 people there. It's a produce show. It's called We Are the Fighting Detectives, and it looks beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's in like HD quality. It looks phenomenal. And then I watch, the New Japan show from Sumo Hall, and it looks like I'm watching it through a potato. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like, we always talk about when you watch New Japan on Access. You're like, oh, yeah, that's what New Japan looks like when it's like presented with nice cameras and in HD and on, I don't know. New Japan World, the quality always fucking stinks for the show. So I hope when they do the update that hopefully that gets corrected and hopefully New Japan World looks better and the shows look better and maybe it's a little easier to navigate and stuff, because Wrestle Universe is amazing to navigate. The problem is I don't really love everything that's on Wrestle Universe. Noah, not that interested in watching Noah right now. Tokyo Joshi Pro, I watched a little bit of the Tokyo Joshi Pro, but not enough to make it worthwhile to pop onto Wrestle Universe all the time or whatever. And then there's some other stuff here and there. DDT, do not care. The offshoots of DDT, do not care about Ganbare Pro. I'm not watching that shit. So when I found out this is on Wrestle Universe, I'm like, all right, cool. That'll be nice and easy to watch, and I know exactly how to get there. And there it was, waiting for me this morning to watch. Clicked play, looks beautiful, and then I was treated to this match, which I thought was phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff between Two people that, if you don't know, these guys are tag team partners. If you're new to the show, you're just jumping in, you have no idea what the fuck we're talking about, why the hell we're starting the show with Takuya Nomura and Fuminori Abe. Welcome to the Flagship Podcast. This is what we do. These guys are the Astronauts. They are a tag team. They're doing this proto show, and they just decide that the bell's going to ring, and they're going to beat the ever-living shit out of each other for 20 minutes and never stop beating the shit out of each other until the bell rings, and then sometimes even tease that they're going to beat the shit out of each other after the bell rings, and do it all in the spirit of competition and in the spirit of proving which one of these men is better than the other men. So the bell rings, and they go at it. They punch, they kick, they slap, they chop, they headbutt, they put each other in leg locks, and eventually after 20 minutes, Fuminori Abe makes Nomura tap out. Now, Fuminori Abe is gushing blood at this point because at one point during the match, Nomura just turned around and just punched the guy in the forehead enough times to make his head burst open. Fantastic. And then Abe just said, you know what, motherfucker, I'm just going to break your leg. So he puts him in a leg lock, and he holds the leg lock, and he holds it, and he holds it, and he holds it. And Nomura's trying like hell to get out, trying desperately to get out. He can't get out. He finally has to tap out. Abe wins. These two friends kind of handshake, which is amazing because these are friends. These are tag team partners. They're not brochachos, but you know what? At the end of the day, Abe's gushing blood. Nomura can barely walk. They still kind of say, yeah, well, hope you had a fun time, man. I had a fun time. They shake hands. It's over. And then one of my favorite spots of the entire thing that happens after the match is done, where Nomura turns around and Fuminori Abe teases like he's going to kick Nomura in the back of the leg, and Nomura turns around. He's like, well, come on. And Abe kind of taps him on the leg, and he's like, I'm kidding. I'm not going to hurt you anymore. And then it's over, and the match is done, and the fans go home happy. That is a match. That is how two friends have a wrestling match. That is what pro wrestling is. Two dumb jock idiots go out there and kill one another to prove that one is better than the other, and eventually one is just better than the other. And then they go, okay, sir, you were better on this night. And then they move on to the rest of their lives. This is pro wrestling. This is it. This is what I want out of my wrestling. This is the shit. When people are like, nothing makes you guys happy, when we're complaining about Timeless Tony or the brochachos, this makes me happy. This is what I want out of wrestling. Two men go in there, beat the shit out of each other. One guy is better than the other. That's what I want out of my wrestling in 2023. That's the example right there. Wrestle Universe, go see it.
Rich, all fired up as we open up a little bati here on the flagship. Who else is going to open up with that? Well, incredible. This guy's all fired up. Yeah, look, they busted each other open hard way, like poor Becky Lynch has been trying to do in like her last 3 matches, and being unsuccessful in doing so. Maybe she should watch a tape of these two guys, because by the end of this, Abe's pouring blood, just like a faucet, down his skull into his face. And the finish with the reversal, Nomura's got him in the leg lock, and he pulls Abe away from the ropes. But then Abe does the reversal, and then he gets the tap. Nomura is screaming in pain as he taps out. And yeah, it was just delightfully stiff, slapping each other in the face, trying to make each other bleed hard way, stiff kicks, soccer kicks to downed opponents, a lot of grappling. It's that, bati style, and that battle art shit. Style shit, and that's what Fuminori Abe brings to the table. These guys are the Astronauts. We ironically talked about them last week when I was threatening to name 200. What was it? What did I say? I could do 300 tag teams better than Edge and Christian.
I think you did, yeah. And there's some people that took that challenge, and I know that Robin Reed on our Slack, one of the guys in charge of the Wrestling 101 project, he got very comfortably to about 150 teams, I want to say, very comfortably. So he has no doubt that you could get to easily 200.
I get to 300. Yeah,
I think you could. Yeah. Now that when I saw that list, and I was like, oh, surely he could. And then I cracked my knuckles and scrolled. And now I was like, fuck, man. Yeah, Joe could probably get to 200 pretty easily.
You see the list, and you know what's left off, and it's like you could easily get to 300 if you're considering worldwide and the history of wrestling and all those things. But yeah, and then here they are, having a match yesterday in Japan. Now, I will say, I don't see this as a match of the year contender for me. I certainly don't see it as a match of the decade contender, and I don't have it anywhere near 5 stars. But I did enjoy the hell out of it. For all the reasons you said and all the reasons that I just brought up. If I could be critical, I did think it may have been a little too tongue-in-cheeky for my tastes. Now, I get that was the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want anyone to tell me, oh, the story went over your head, Joe. These guys are pals, and that was kind of part of the story that, despite the fact that they're pals and they worked in a comedy spot or two, they were still willing to just totally maim each other. No, I get it. I understand that. I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily fully land for me when you're talking about, going 5 stars or telling me something's a match of the decade contender. Even at the finish, something that bugged me was Abe does the reversal. He puts Nomura in the submission, and Nomura is screaming like, he's being murdered by someone breaking into his house. And the fans are laughing because the tone that they had set was that despite how brutal and vicious and nasty this match was, there was still sort of this overriding tone of, I don't know what the right word to use. I keep coming back to the phrase tongue-in-cheekness to it. And I kind of, when you're coming to the conclusion of a match this violent, I would kind of hope that the wrestlers can control the emotions of the fans to where they now understand they're not watching something that's meant to be laughed at. These are minor gripes. The match is still great.
I think that the fans didn't feel, and because the wrestlers didn't portray any level of hatred. There was no hatred between these ones. It was not. There was no. These guys didn't dislike each other at any point. They were just in a competitive battle to figure out who was better between the two. And like you said, the fans.
And it's kind of like you said. It's kind of like you said, where they're so stupid. And they're such dumb jocks that they're willing to practically kill each other.
Right, and I think that made the comedy for the crowd, because they're like, what are these idiots doing? Why are they killing each other like this? Aren't they supposed to be friends? Aren't these tag team partners? As they're bouncing each other's foreheads on each other, and they're like, what are they doing? Why are they doing so much?
So that makes for a very interesting psychology that you don't see every day, and it's just, I'm not sure that you can do a match like that and have it be one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. That's all. Because legitimately, that's the kind of buzz that it's getting. I'm not making that up.
No. You are not. You are not.
There's people who think this is like the match of the decade. And that 9.74 on Cage Match, that's essentially all 10s with a couple 9s sprinkled in when you have a rating that high. And we're talking almost 40.
Yeah,
votes.
I think there's 1-8 right now. 1-8, and everything else is 10s and 9s.
So if I had to rate it, if you want me to be Captain Buzzkill here, I actually already wrote it in my notebook. There are times where I'll sleep on a match before I rate it, because I don't know why. Because I guess I'm stupid like that, and I think that it matters for some reason. But this one, I went with my gut, and I have it at 4.25 plus. So that's where I'm at with it. It's a great match that everyone should seek out and watch for sure. Just because of the uniqueness of the way it was worked and the kind of unique psychology that they brought to the table. I when I say the word unique, I have to do it Jim Ross style now. This unique format, a fucking tournament. What's so unique about it, Jim?
You win, you move on, you lose, you go home. It's a very unique format. Thanks, Jim.
This unique format, you lose, you're out. I was like, what? Every tournament ever? What are we talking?
Ever? Yes. Every single elimination tournament ever, Jim, in the history of mankind.
Unique format. But a great match. And as we span the globe here on the don't be a fucking coward, Rich Craich. What's your star rating?
I'm at 5. I went 5 with it. Is it my match of the year? It is not gonna be probably my number 1 match of the year. There's a few other matches this year that I think I liked a little bit better, but I gotta say this is gonna be in my top 10. It just hits at the right time. You know what I mean? It just hits at the perfect time. You know what? Sometimes a wrestling match just gets you at the right time, and you're like, yes, this is why I love this dumb shit all the time. And especially like on a week like this that had so much annoying discourse and so many people just being so weird about wrestling and so strange about wrestling. And there's some people that had the audacity on our Discord to say, well, maybe wrestling has passed you guys by because you don't like this brochacho stuff. And then I see matches like this, and I'm like, no, wrestling has not passed me by. They changed. I didn't change. This shit's always been. This is what I've always loved right here. This show right here. This match right here. This is it, man. No, it hasn't passed me by. Those guys are the problem, not me. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where it just hits you at the right time where you're like, because sometimes you're just down on wrestling. Like, people think that we come on here every single week, and yeah, we love wrestling. We always find ways to get passionate about wrestling, but there's some times where it's like, fuck, man, I got to watch this stupid wrestling. And this week I had to watch stupid Fastlane, and I had to watch NXT, and it's like one of those weeks where I'm like, God, wrestling does kind of stink sometimes, doesn't it? And then this match happens, and I'm like, no, you know what? Wrestling's fucking awesome. And you get a weird match like this and a weird show like this, and I watched the whole show, and the rest of the show wasn't very good, by the way. The only match I did not see, which I do want to go back and make sure I see, was the semi-main event, which I saw Super Tiger and Yano, and that was not very good. Super Tiger's not very good anymore. The opener had Hideki Suzuki in it, so yeah, my limit of what I'm interested in that. So like the rest of the show didn't really land for me, but I started with the main event, and that absolutely landed with me. It was just absolutely a match that I was like, yep, this is the type of stuff that I love about wrestling, and the type of stuff that makes me fall in love with it all over again and realize, like, yeah, this shit is worth all the effort, because sometimes when it just lands, it just lands. So will it be my match of the year? Probably not, but I think it's pretty safely going to be in my top 10. I'm pretty sure.
You know how I know you watched the whole show? Because when I fired it up to watch, it was in the middle of that Super Tiger match.
Yeah.
Fucking
not good.
Rich Craich over here. Fucking
gotta watch. You gotta watch
guy.
Brother Yashi, dude. When Brother Yashi's on the screen, you just gotta watch it. But it was not very good.
This guy has my passwords memorized better than I do. Let me tell you. Trust me when I tell you that. Jeez, I'm firing up the Wrestle Universe, cracking my knuckles, and I fire up the show, and Super Tiger has Keita Yano in a fucking armbar, and I'm like, oh, someone's been on my account. Wonder who it was. You know. It's
hey, Wrestle Universe, great service. Don't pay for it. I just use Joe's login.
Yeah, guy puts over the service. He's out here stealing my password. And let me tell you, he's making money hand over fist, this Rich Craich.
Borrowing your password.
He drives a late model German vehicle. He's got 2 of them in that driveway right now. Successful Patreon. He's got the big time shoot job. This man stealing my passwords left and right. It's unbelievable. But yeah, no, if you're into the style, I heard the whole show's pretty good too. So there's some stuff on there that looks interesting. I'll check out this Hikaru Sato and Brother Yashi tag against
hate that match.
Yuto Hidaka. And,
you're gonna hate it.
Nah, it's not any good.
No, I mean I hated it. I'm sure somebody likes it. I'm sure a lot of people like it. I know you're gonna hate it. So
yeah, well,
it's Hikaru
Sato.
It's Hikaru Sato.
Well, I mean. I did a full 180 on him. I used to bury him mercilessly, and then he just won me over eventually. It's tricky for these guys who wear the kick pads and no shoes. Like, you got to win me over, because I think that's just total geek shit. So it took a while, but he won me over. It took a while, but Speedball won me over. But it's an uphill battle when you wear the kick pads with no shoes. I really can't stand that. But how about that Hideki Suzuki match, Rich? Were you locked into the Hideki Suzuki match? Or?
No, not really at all.
Well, spoiler alert, he won.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, if you hadn't seen the match, Joe, I was going to take some action if we thought that Hideki Suzuki would go over in this professional wrestling match, and he did indeed go over in this professional wrestling match. So,
yeah, all right. Well, that's the look. As I said, no one else is opening up with Kakuto Tantidan. We are the fighting detectives from Shinjuku Face in front of 300 people. Only here.
Only here. Only here. Yeah, in a week that everyone's going to talk about Tony's tweets and CM Punk and WWE and the Tuesday Night War, and we'll get to all that shit. We start out with We Are the Fighting Detectives. Yep, that's what we do here. I love it.
Yeah.
No one else but us. No one else but us. And like you said, we're important in this space. We really are.
That's right.
No one else does this show.
Bunch of fucking clowns, that's why. I'm fired up today.
I could tell. Let's go. Let's do it. So, where do you want to go next? Any other random Japanese wrestling you watched this week that you want to touch on? Or should we get to these big American shit stuff that we can talk about?
Let's just do the chalk topics.
Yeah. All right.
All the enthusiasm sucked right out of us as we...
Actually, you know what? Fuck that. West Coast Pro. They got a show this weekend that I think is going to be pretty fun.
You're going right to West Coast Pro.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
We'll do that. So they have a fun show. I've always enjoyed West Coast Pro. They're on independentwrestling.tv if you've never seen them as well. They're celebrating their 5th anniversary this weekend. looks like a pretty fun show. The main event is Titus Alexander versus Starboy Charlie, a match that has a lot of backstory to it. And Tim Dog, everybody knows him as Tim Dog. He's in our Discord on Twitter and stuff. He wrote a great preview all about that main event, the multi-year story between Titus Alexander and Starboy Charlie. It is really well done, really detailed. Great work by Tim Dog there. So that is available at voicesofwrestling.com. It's a 2-part preview as well. He also has a second part covering the rest of the show. But yeah, Titus Alexander, Starboy Charlie. You won't believe this, Joe, but they brought Masato Tanaka in, and guess who Masato Tanaka is going to face? Whole West Coast Pro roster. Everybody
West Coast Pro?
Yep.
Oh, I wish I could bet on this. It's got to be Vinny Massaro.
It is Vinny Massaro.
Absolute egomaniac.
I tell you, what
he's
a fucking egomaniac that Vinny Massaro is.
Who's got Masato Tanaka in St. Louis Anarchy? Isn't it Gary J?
That I don't know. That sounds like a hell of a match if that's true. Is that actually the match?
I think it's Gary J, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, that match is tonight.
Hell yeah.
Masato Tanaka versus I believe Gary J.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right here.
SLA.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as Tanaka is in America. So
these guys are going to chop the fuck out of each other. That sounds awesome. But yeah, Mike Bailey, Alpha Zoe, some other stuff on the card too. But I think what's interesting about the West Coast Pro card is that, and it's one of the reasons I've really liked that promotion every time that I've watched it. We don't talk about them that much on this show, just because we're so bogged down with all these other topics. But I do kind of always keep an eye on them. I do watch a lot of their shows. I think they're doing a really good job of elevating younger talent and mixing it in with like name independent talent. A lot of other indies will put guy you've heard of versus guy you've heard of or whatever, and then their local guy versus their local guy in the undercard or whatever. And in this case, like West Coast Pro very easily could have made Brian Keith versus Mike Bailey. You know what I mean? Like perfectly fine. That's a good match. People would enjoy it. Shut up and take my money. Gift guy would quote tweet it. A bunch of people would say, whoa, what? You know what I mean? All these dumb quote tweets that don't matter and don't mean anything. Everybody would go nuts for that. Mike Bailey versus Keith Lee, they can announce that. Instead, they do Brian Keith versus the Crazy Cajun, who I made fun of a lot during WrestleMania weekend, but is starting to kind of work his way up the ladder there in West Coast Pro. And then Mike Bailey versus Alpha Zoe, another guy that West Coast Pro has kind of built up over the last couple of months or whatever. So it's like, that is, to me, that's cool booking. That's how I would love to book a show. When we had Biss on a couple of months ago, we talked about that with with Inspire, that's something he likes to do too, is not just put two name talents in there in a match and say, yeah, here you go, and people are going to go nuts for it on Twitter or whatever, but it's not going to fucking matter. It's not going to do anything for your business. Once those guys leave and they go away or they get signed or whatever, you're kind of left with, all right, now we have all these local guys that have never gotten over and nobody really cares about them. This is a great way to use local guys. This is a great way to use name talent. Have Brian Keith go in there against the local guy. Have Mike Bailey go in there against the local guy. Have your main event be two guys that you've built up, two guys that you have gotten to this level in Titus Alexander and Starboy Charlie. Like, do that. That is a way, way better way. And then, yeah, you can have your Masato Tanaka and Vinny Massaros and some other name. There's a lot of Joshi talent on the show as well. You can have some fun stuff, but I like how they've booked it. And I know that Chris Hero's got a hand in booking some of the day-to-day of West Coast Pro. Kenta Kobashi's going to be at this show too. I think he's just doing autographs, but I don't know if he's going to show up and do something as well. But that's going to be on independentwrestling.tv this weekend, and I just wanted to spotlight them a little bit before we got too bogged down with the other topics, because it looks like a pretty fun show, and I'll definitely have one eye on it, because West Coast Pro has been great. Really, really good. A lot of the stuff I've watched over the last couple of months and year, I've really enjoyed, and that's kind of that was one of my missions in 2023, is to watch more indie wrestling and not just complain about the state of indie wrestling and GCW sucks. I haven't watched a second of GCW this year, and I do not plan on it, and realizing there's a lot of great indies across the country. It's just a matter of going out there and watching them, and been able to go to a bunch of AEW shows live and watch a lot of stuff on independentwrestling.tv, including West Coast Pro. And that show should be really, really fun this weekend. So West Coast Pro's 5th anniversary. Again, previews up at voicesofwrestling.com as well, if you want to get a little bit of the lay of the land of what's going into West Coast Pro and maybe catch up before this weekend's show. So there you go. Joe, stunned silence from Joe there. He might be on mute. But
I can't really jump in. I mean, I've got a giant backlog of West Coast Pro, because I left off in like fucking February or something, but so I'm not up to date on the promotion at all. So but I do have a shit ton of recommendations that I got from the Tim Dog, and one lazy Saturday I got to sit down and knock them all out. So until I do, I can't really. Same thing with Inspire. I have all these matches that I've been sent from there that I just haven't been able to get to. So before the end of the year, I'll have all this indie stuff watched. I really fell way behind with all the indie promotions this year, trying to keep up with everything else. But I've got my lists, and I will eventually catch up with it, and then I'll come on here and I'll be screaming about some match in May that no one even remembers ever happened.
Right.
And and that's how it goes.
I know Defy Wrestling as well. Someone in the Noto chat room letting us know that Masato Tanaka and Brian Keith are going to be at Defy this Saturday in Yakima, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's the biggest venue that they've ever run, Defy Wrestling as well. So good times going on in the independent wrestling world. It is, there's stuff happening there. And I wrote a piece on our Patreon a couple of months ago about AEW saying, like, if you still think the indies stink and the indies are bad or whatever, I just don't think you're looking hard enough. There's a lot of really good stuff on there, and there's this next wave of people coming up that really does give me hope. There was that while there, Joe. There was that while where we were warning people, and again, people should just listen to us. Sometimes when we say these things, we know what we're talking about, but we warned people even a year or two before it was happening that the indies were not looking good, and there was too much irony bullshit and too much, haha pro wrestling stuff, and then it hit the nadir. I mean, we just had an awful run of indie wrestling there for a couple of years, and I really think that we've moved out of that, and we're getting there. There's a lot of really good young talent all across the country and in all these different promotions. So if you've stayed away from the indies for a while and just stuck to the major, promotions, I get it. There's a lot of wrestling to be offered in the major promotions, but I really do think you should, maybe this weekend is a good time to kind of check out some indies, whether it be West Coast Pro, Deadlock Pro, which I think has done a really good job throughout this year. Defy, obviously running their biggest venue that they've ever ran this weekend, and it's just a lot of stuff going on around the independent wrestling world. So yeah, to take some time and definitely, maybe take away a couple hours of your major American wrestling and check out some of these indies and see if there's something that you like or someone that you really like, because I think there's a lot of good talent that's starting to work their way up through the system. So yeah, try to keep one eye on it, and I wish we had more time to talk about it, but there's always just a bunch of dumb shit happening in American wrestling, and just so much dumb shit always happening in wrestling that we don't have time to sit down and talk for an hour about Defy and West Coast Pro and Deadlock Pro and all that sort of stuff, or AAW or Freelance or any of that stuff, because there's just so much shit going on all the goddamn time in wrestling. So there we go. So that was the first half hour of our show. We Are Funny Detectives and West Coast Pro. How about that?
Yes.
All right, you want to get to the dumb shit American wrestling and all these idiots involved? All right, let's do it. All right, let's talk about the Tuesday Night War, Joe. AEW versus NXT. You reviewed both these shows on this week's Thursday Dynamite review up at flagshippatreon.com. By the way, $5 tier if you want to subscribe to that. Flagshippatreon.com, Thursday Dynamite review. Obviously, more focus on the AEW show, but you did chime in a little bit about the NXT show. I can give my quick thoughts if you want, but I don't know. How do you want to analyze? Because we obviously have the ratings. We have Tony Khan's descent into madness in the days that have followed. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the actual shows, AEW versus NXT. I don't know if you had any additional thoughts that you wanted. I thought AEW was a pretty good show. To me, a show that I would like to see them do a little bit more often. Kind of unload. You can have big time singles matches very often on Dynamite. There's no reason to hold a lot of these matches off, and in some cases, I think that they've held off way too many singles matches, especially singles rematches. They just do not do them, and they leave a lot of money on the table with some of these matches. So weeks like this, I think you can do this sort of stuff a lot. You can do it very often. And yeah, I thought all in all it was a good show. I mean, maybe not a great show. There was, the matches, and you talked about it. You thought every match kind of under-delivered. I thought Swerve and Danielson delivered for me. I thought Page and White wasn't great. And I did not like the main event between Copeland and Luchasaurus. And everything else in between was just whatever. And the Timeless Tony stuff sucked. And the Adam Cole riding a lawnmower sucked, but I've screamed and yelled about that, and I don't really care to do it anymore because it's not going away anytime soon. But I thought AEW had a good show. I thought NXT show was pretty terrible, as per usual, and I don't understand. You always say, you don't understand how anybody could watch the show on a weekly basis, and I turned the show on for a couple of minutes, and the nurse was sitting with me, And she was just like, why is the camera doing that? Why are the colors so bright? Why is everybody yelling? And I just said, this is it. This is what NXT is. And it was like a shock to the system, to a human being that never sees this stuff and never watches this stuff. And I thought NXT was terrible. I just thought, all in all, bad matches, just shoehorned in stars from the main roster just to have stars shoehorned in. No reason for them to really be there. Cody Rhodes saying, I got a big announcement. It's the Dusty Rhodes Classic, and he's the GM. Okay, cool. Like that did nothing for me. Cena did nothing for me. Heyman did nothing for me. The Undertaker couldn't possibly care less. So yeah, that's kind of my reviews. I thought NXT was terrible. I thought AEW was a good show. And then the ratings. I don't know. Anything else that you have on the Tuesday Night War before we kind of talk about the ratings and then Tony Khan's descent into madness?
I thought I didn't think the NXT show was any good, but it was actually better than it is most weeks, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's not good.
I do suffer through this show, and it's usually even worse than this. I didn't think the NXT show was like terrible or anything, but it wasn't good. And it's but the next day people thought it was phenomenal. So I don't know. We're just when it comes to this, it's just our tastes are just completely different than what a lot of people are enjoying these days, I guess. I mean, my big takeaways though from the NXT show, the Carmelo Hayes Braun Breaker main event with John Cena in Carmelo Hayes' corner and Paul Heyman in Breaker's corner. I thought that both of those guys, okay, let me frame it this way. If they're going to put these two guys who they think are going to be their next two gigantic stars in the main event of this show that they know there's going to be more eyes on than there's really been on this show maybe ever before, I would think that they would have been showcased more and been directed to have a much hotter match than they had. I don't think either guy looked impressive. I don't think either guy looked like a future star. And I thought it was just a nothing match. And, I just, from that standpoint, I would think that more people would have been disappointed in it, but it seems like these things don't really matter to people. Like everything the next day was just how great the show was and how everything landed, and neck and neck with Dynamite in terms of what the best show was that night. And I don't know. I mean, I don't get it, man. I mean, it was just a nothing match. It was a little 3-star match. I mean, Breaker's blowing spots left and right. He almost killed Carmelo Hayes with blowing a spot off of the top rope at one point. And, they just, neither guy to me came across like a future star in that match at all.
No, Breaker in particular. Breaker ain't it, man. And I don't know that this developmental system is going to make him it. It hasn't already, and he's been. I mean, that run that he's had, doing main events, being the focal point of the show, being a big part of the show. We're coming up on to 2 years, right? A little over 2 years at this point with him too. It's like, I don't know, like that's a lot of time. Usually you kind of understand if a guy's got it at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
did you watch that match? Watching that match, did you think, my God, I'm watching the future of the business?
Hell no. I thought if this is the future of the men's division, then they need to do some extra work here. Because no, I thought this looked like
that's really what it comes down to.
Two developmental guys having a developmental match, which I thought, that I stupidly maybe assumed that this was a night where they were going to get more people than ever, and they were going to tell these guys, all right, whatever you have, whatever we can do, get all hands on deck, figure out how to make the most of this, where when this show is over, you're like, those two dudes are the next up. Those two guys are the next up.
The idea would be, we're going to bring John Cena and The Undertaker and Cody and all these people to this show. We're going to get all these eyes on it. And now, because we have all these eyes on it, we're going to showcase these two guys who are the future of this company. And they are going to be the talk of the wrestling world the next day. And that didn't happen at all. And I know they had The Undertaker beat up Braun because he's the heel. Okay. He endorsed Carmelo Hayes. All right. So he endorsed the babyface and he beat up the heel.
Not a good, but here's the problem with the endorsement.
Might not be what I would have done, but, but I don't know. To me, watching this match, and I've never been particularly high on Braun Breaker, and Carmelo Hayes, I've said my opinion on him a million times. I think he's perfectly fine, but I think he's already at his ceiling, and I don't see big money in him either. But coming out of this, to me, that both of those guys, their stock dropped in my eyes.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, because this was not like anything close to what it should have been, which was like a star-making performance. But I think that from that standpoint, that didn't work for me.
Real quick on the Hayes thing, he got the stamp of approval from the Undertaker or whatever, but I don't get too hung up on this. It doesn't bother me that much, but the optics of the Undertaker being like a good foot and like 3 inches taller than Carmelo Hayes, it's not good.
Look, even in this era, Hayes' size is going to be a problem.
Tiny. He's small.
He's a very small guy.
It's hard when you see him up with like a superstar, you know what I mean? Like a WWE superstar, for better or for worse. That's what a WWE superstar looks like, The Undertaker. Yeah, he's a little bit taller than most guys, but you see Hayes in there with dudes, and it's like, yeah, that guy's short. He's really, really short, and
he doesn't have the big room charisma to overcome.
Right. He doesn't project himself big either. He doesn't work. He doesn't work so spectacularly that you're like, well, who cares? Look at what he can do. And he doesn't like have that over the top charisma that makes you say, yeah, who gives a shit? Nobody cares how tall he is. I don't know. I see him and I'm always like, man, that guy's short, and that's. I'm not usually that kind of guy with him, but when you're looking at this guy and it's obviously he's earmarked to be one of the guys in the company, you have to think of everything. And it's like, yeah, you see him and the optics are not good and the charisma is not good and the work is just not quite there. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if this guy's a capital S superstar. I think he's a good little guy. I think he's a good roster guy. You can use him in some ways. He's definitely a valuable member of a roster, but he ain't it. He's not that top tier guy.
In that company, he doesn't have the overwhelming big room charisma to overcome his size, I don't think. And I'm baffled that people see. But see, a lot of it, Rich, is if WWE tells people that someone is the next thing, people just go along with it. I don't think there's a lot of great critical analysis in to be completely honest, the way that we do it. I don't think there's a lot of people doing that. I think there's a lot of people who break this stuff down who, if WWE says, all right, well, Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker are the next guys, I think people just go, okay, and they go along with it.
Right. Carmelo says, I'm him, and they all go, yes, Carmelo is him.
He is, in fact, him. Yes. And it doesn't always work like that. But, WWE at the same time, they have this a certain relationship with their fan base at this point where it has become easier for them to get people over because their fan base is willing to just accept what they're being sold now more than ever. They don't have that confrontational relationship with their fan base that they had 5 years ago, where their fan base was openly rejecting what the company was selling them. That's not the case anymore. Those fans are gone. The fan base they have now wants to accept everything that the company's selling them. So everything we're saying may not matter because as long as they're telling their fan base that this guy is him and that Braun Breaker is the next guy, their fan base is open to accepting that. Now, I will say with Braun Breaker, he's a heel now, but that's kind of because that very easy NXT crowd turned him heel because they got sick of his shit as a babyface. So there might be something more that might go against everything I just said because there was at the end of his babyface run, those fans were openly rejecting him. And then they turned him heel. So they clearly, the NXT crowd loves Hayes. There's no doubt about that. He's over in that building. So I don't know. I just don't think either guy came across as the next big thing to me in that match. But I guess we'll see. And as far as the rest of the show, I mean, you bring Asuka in and she just beats Roxanne Perez. Now, look, I get it. It's a developmental show, and Roxanne Perez is not a main roster wrestler yet, and Asuka, the main roster wrestler, probably should be winning, but again, it was a nothing match that didn't do anything for Roxanne.
Right.
Perez.
It's not like Roxanne took Asuka to the absolute limit, and when it was over, it was like, you know what, you're the next big thing. I mean, you almost got me here.
5-minute TV match. It was nothing.
It's perfunctory. And then, oh my God, Joe, I thought one of the worst segments of the entire show was the parade of women backstage shaking Asuka's hand and going, oh my God, Asuka's here. It's like, what?
I know. Pump the brakes.
Geeks.
It's not Mildred Burke. Right. I mean, let's take it easy.
Well, you make all of your NXT roster look like absolute geeks when they're like, oh my God, a real star is here. Oh my God. Like, I want someone to get in her face and go, you know what, you're on my show. I guess Tiffany did that. The only person that's actually a fucking star in that entire show did come in and say, hey, this is my show and I don't really give a shit who you are. That was great. But everybody else was like, oh my God, it's Asuka. Hi, how are you? And it's like, what? I don't want that, but whatever. I don't know.
But no, the show wasn't any. I didn't think the show was any good. But here's the thing: people like us, you have to think of it this way. To a lot of WWE fans, and I know this is hard for, people are gonna. Some of the people listening to this show are gonna be like, Joe, are you out of your mind? But this is the case. there's a lot of WWE fans who watch this and really got a gigantic kick out of Cody, Cena, and Undertaker being on this show. And like, that was a legitimate big deal to them. Like, holy shit, John Cena's on NXT. This is can't miss stuff. I know we can't wrap our brains around that, but there's people who are like, holy shit, Cody's the GM? You mean to tell me all night Cody's going to be making the decision?
Yeah,
like this?
He's the special guest. Yeah, he did that announcement. He said the Dusty Rhodes Classic is coming back, and the crowd went nuts. And he goes, I have another announcement. And everybody went, gasp. And then he says, I just got word that I'm the special general manager for tonight. Everyone goes, yeah.
People are losing their minds. They're shaking. Their hands are shaking. They're looking at their friends like, oh my God.
Like grown men jumping up and down, leaping in the air. That the idea that, oh my God, Cody's the GM tonight. What?
You know the classic SNL bit, Schmidt's Gay, the gay beer.
Yeah.
With it's like a send up of a beer commercial with Adam Sandler and Chris Farley. And instead of like women in bikinis, it's all like ripped dudes with fucking six packs. And it's like a send up of a stereotypical beer commercial with like half naked women, except it's a gay beer. There's the one scene in that bit where Sandler and Farley look at each other when they see all the half naked guys, and they just mouth, "Oh my God," to one another.
Yep.
That's like what this crowd was like when Cody said he was going to be the GM. They're all like turning to each other like, "Oh my God, did you hear him? Cody is going to," and it's like, people like me and you are watching this and we're like, who fucking cares? Like, there's like no reason for this man to be on the show. This is a waste of everybody's time. But to the WWE fans, Cody being the GM and interacting with Ilya Dragunov and Dominic, right? And like the Undertaker showing up, like, this is like incredible. This is like groundbreaking shit to them. This is like, these are moments. So I think sometimes we lose sight of that. We don't view it through that lens, because to us, it's like, I don't give a fuck if I ever see The Undertaker ever again. I don't need to see The Undertaker.
But he's the American badass this time, Joe. He's on the motorcycle.
And then he could barely walk. Like, the guy can barely get in the ring. I fucking had it. I don't need to see The Undertaker ever again. But to these people, it was like the biggest fucking deal that The Undertaker showed up, and not just the people in the building. Like, everybody at home is doing the Schmidt's Gay thing. They're all these fans. So we just don't see it through that lens. And I think, if we thought that these type of people showing up was a huge deal, or Solo Sikoa coming out to attack John Cena, right? Like, maybe we would have thought that this was some phenomenal television show. But I don't care about any of these people.
No.
I don't care about John Cena anymore. I don't care about The Undertaker. For God's sake, I don't care about The Undertaker anymore. I don't need Cody as the GM. I'm tired. I don't want any show to ever have a GM. So I think that's the difference. But as far as Dynamite goes, I was a little underwhelmed by the wrestling on the show. I saw everyone talking about how it was such a great wrestling show, and I looked at the lineup and thought, yeah, it probably is. Look at the lineup. But I didn't think it was a great bell-to-bell show. Danielson Swerve was underwhelming to me. I thought it was like a 3.5-star match, which is a good match. Okay, it's a good match. But when I see Bryan Danielson Swerve Strickland, I'm expecting a great match. Most people did think it was a great match. It's like 8.55 on Cage Match, so I'll accept that I'm the outlier there. But then when I look at the rest of this show, where's all this alleged great wrestling that they had on this show? I don't see it. Powerhouse Hobbs Chris Jericho was a match designed for Hobbs to destroy Jericho, and it was more of an angle than a match. And I thought it was good, and I thought it was well done, but it certainly wasn't a great wrestling match. Orange Cassidy, Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix was injured, and they were just getting in and out. I mean, and we all understand why, because Phoenix is all fucked up. So that wasn't, Wardlaw had another 30-second squash. Hikaru Shida Saraya was a nothing match. I mean, just a total nothing match. We have gone from a bad women's champion to now just a boring, dull, and uninteresting women's champion, which somehow is an upgrade. So,
I'll take it. I'll take it temporarily, but I'm ready for. I think I'm ready for Tony to get back in the mix and maybe start wrestling again and not just saying tits and throwing her shoes at people. So
Tony's done. Tony's finished. You can forget that, because Tony Khan pops for that gimmick, so it's not going anywhere. So you could kiss Tony Storm goodbye. The great,
how's Jamie doing? Can we get an update on the arm? How's the arm doing?
Get Jamie Hayter back, maybe, because but listen, Hikaru Shida, as dull and uninteresting as she is a massive upgrade from Saraya, so I'll take it.
Oh, God, yes.
But that match wasn't anything. And then the main event, I thought Adam Copeland looked like shit. I mean, I do not think he looked good. And I thought that
I agree.
The big Luchasaurus lariat that was supposed to the back of the neck, which was supposed to like set the stage for the story of the match, which was Adam Copeland wrestling from underneath, overcoming an attack on his injured neck. The lariat looked so bad that I couldn't buy it as this big debilitating move that took Adam Copeland out of things that he had to overcome, because it just wasn't a stiff enough move. And from there, they just got off on the wrong foot. And I don't think Copeland looked good. Now to defend him a little bit, to be fair, it's a match where he's selling the whole time, and it's not really a true representation of what his matches are going to look like. And I'm sure he's going to have better matches than this down the line. And I understand the match was telling a story, but even within that context, this match didn't really do anything for me. I did like the post-match stuff. So on the whole, I thought it was a good Dynamite, but I didn't think it was a great Dynamite. I thought this was a slightly better than average Dynamite in my view. And I know that a lot of people vehemently disagree with that, and they thought it was great.
The Copeland thing, here's one of my problems with the way that entire match was laid out, is this guy, you made this guy feel so old right out of the gates. He felt ancient. Here comes this guy. He's graying. We know what he looks like. He looks kind of old right now. He does. And the guy's old. He's almost 50 years old. If he's not, he didn't turn 50, right? He's 49, I think, still. So he's an older guy.
49.
Yeah, 49 years old. He's an older guy. Then you have a match that's surrounded around, hey, this guy has a fragile neck that can go at any time, and he's selling, and he's doing it. Just, I don't know. To me, I don't know if that's the way I want to present him. I don't know if that's the correct way to present an Adam Copeland is, hey, here's this old guy that we have from WWE. That's kind of how they're presenting him so far, and I don't know if I'm into that right now. I think that there's a good way to maybe present him. I think the stuff with Christian is a good, but I don't know. I thought right out of the gates you just made him feel ancient and old, and that's just not been, really they've done a good job in AEW of not making anybody feel old. Chris Jericho, at times has felt like a veteran, but has never to me felt like an old guy on the show, and they've kind of steered away from having a bunch of old guys on the show. Copeland came off just really old and really, just kind of like, okay, we're sympathetic that this like broken down guy is on this show. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I thought the aesthetics of it were just didn't land with me. And I think the crowd, it took a little while for them to get into the match. And eventually they did get into it. And obviously when Copeland made his comeback, that was good. And the crowd didn't get into that. And the post match, like you said, I thought was really, really good. And that was hot. So enjoyed all that. But yeah, I did not think he looked great. And I do think that he probably has better matches in him. But I don't know. The presentation of him so far, I haven't been in love with. Like you said, he said all the right things. He's said all the right things in the media. He said all the right things in post scrums or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if presenting him as this fragile old guy is really what I would do with him. But I don't know how else you.
It could have been a one match story.
Sure,
but I mean, I've liked everything so far with him, and I remain open minded on him, with the exception of this match itself. Now, I did skip one match because Jay White, Hangman Page. Now, to me, this really is the match that's going to determine whether somebody thought that this was a great Dynamite, or like me, just thought it was, like a kind of good Dynamite. If you were really into Jay White, Hangman Page, in addition to the Danielson Swerve match, then I could see why you'd think that this was a show with a lot of great wrestling, even though none of the other matches were really featured great wrestling. But I thought this was one of those Jay White specials that just completely fucking miss and is dull as dishwater. And it had the picture-in-picture. I think it then had a full commercial break as well, which also broke the momentum.
A lot of breaks. This was right after they had done their, long, no commercial.
47 minutes.
Yeah, and then it was like
commercial free.
So, I hate when shows do this. Like, hey, we're doing no commercial breaks or whatever. Which, hey, cool, that's great. But then like.
Now we're going to do 10 in 5 minutes.
Right. And then it's just like, well, fuck. Now, like, the next 20 minutes of the show are going to suck because it's just going to be multiple commercial breaks. And it just so happened that most of those, like, a bunch of them happened to take place during this match, which I think really hurt it, too.
We've talked about this for years. I mean, when it comes to Jay White, when his shit lands, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, this guy's fucking brilliant. Where'd this guy come from? Let's fucking clone his brain. But when his shit doesn't land, it's dull as dishwater. And to me, this is one of those Jay White matches that just didn't land. I could not get into this match. And whether it was just Jay White dragging it down to a halt, or the commercial breaks, or a combination of everything. And then after 20 minutes of this match, you knew, like the whole world knew after the finish of the Danielson Swerve match with Hangman costing them the match, anyone who's been watching wrestling for more than 10 minutes knew that, okay, Swerve is now going to cost Hangman his match later. Why do we need to take 20 minutes to get to that then? You know what I mean? Like, if you know you're going to do that kind of finish, and I rant about this all the time. In my view, don't waste my fucking time then. Go out there and have a 7-minute match and do your gimmick finish, which I don't even mind. If it's a TV match and you're building a story, you can do finishes like this and they don't bother me. What bothers me is if you waste 20 minutes of my time and then do the finish, when I know that finish is coming. The whole world knew that Swerve and Nana were going to get involved in this finish. Okay? Unless you're a child or you're just not, maybe you're new to wrestling. Everyone else knew that that was going to be the finish. And we have to wait around for 20 minutes of Jay White fucking side headlocks and commercials to get to it. So that's why I didn't like this match. Did you like the match?
No, I was kind of indifferent to it as well. I chalked it up to just the commercial breaks just completely taking me out of it. Where some people have no problem and they can watch in picture, or other people will say I should just watch on Fight. There's no commercials on Fight. Well, too bad. I'm watching on TBS.
I'm not doing that.
I'm on TBS. I pay for fucking cable like an idiot.
TV. I'm just watching it on the fucking TV.
Right.
Switch to a fucking app to watch the show.
And what. Regardless, like the what happens in picture and what happens during commercial breaks, TV wrestling has historically been that what's going on during those TV breaks doesn't really matter that much. They're not going to have anything big. We've always said that.
Rich, let's be honest. I'm sure Masawa Kobashi didn't break out during the commercial break in this match.
Exactly. Right. Right. So it's
let's be honest.
I'm watching it while the breaks are happening and nothing seems like it's that engaging. Nothing's like really kind of blowing my, through that. And then they come back from the commercial and it's one of those bad Jay White matches. And we've talked about it over the last 4 or 5 years. That's like
so I'm not going crazy.
No. And, I'm waiting for Hangman to start rallying. I'm waiting for it to come and happen. And then, like you said, it was like right when Hangman started kind of getting a little bit of momentum or felt like, okay, we're getting into something here. Boom, that's when Nana and Swerve come out, and it's like, oh man, you wasted 20 minutes of my life for that. Do that same match.
Now look, listen, that's boilerplate TV booking. I don't even have a problem.
Oh yeah, that's fine, but do it in an 8-minute match. Do it 8 minutes. We don't need 20 minutes if you're going to do that finish.
That is always my argument. Don't waste my fucking time then, and let's just get to that finish and get it out of the way. But I don't know. It was the longest match in the show, and we're just waiting around for the fucking interference because we all know it's coming. And that's at least in the Danielson Swerve match, you don't know that that's coming. You know what I mean? Because that was the first of the 2 matches. We don't know what's going to happen in the Danielson. In fact, to me, there was, I thought Swerve might win that match.
I
coming
did too.
Off the win against Hangman,
I really did.
And so. That and again, I didn't love that match, but I thought it was a really good match. And you're not waiting around for a gimmick finish but once they do that gimmick finish, the gimmick finish is coming later. So that to me and you know what, I'm gonna kind of had an epiphany here. Maybe that's why I didn't like the match that much, because mentally I'm sitting around waiting for the heels to come down and cost Hangman Page the match, and from that standpoint, it then becomes hard to really sink your teeth into it and enjoy it when nothing you're watching matters, okay? Swerve Strickland's going to come down, and he's either going to cost Hangman Page the match or he's not, but he's going to come down. So maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it. But overall, look, I thought the Dynamite show was better than the NXT show. The NXT show, aside from what we spoke about, still suffers from the whole plastic veneer that surrounds it. It's like a parody of a wrestling
so weird.
Show.
It's so bright and everyone's yelling and there's colors and it's strange.
Yeah, in the house style. And, I thought the Brawling Brutes Gallus thing was probably the best match on the show. The no DQ deal that they did, brawling all over the building. That was probably the best match on the show. But, so I thought the Dynamite show was better, but I guess we should talk about the ratings, right?
Let's do that. Yeah, let's get to the ratings. So NXT, USA Network, this is via WrestleNomics, was watched by 921,000 viewers on average, including a .30 in the 18 to 49 demo. This was NXT's highest total viewership since September 25th, 2019, and its highest 18 to 49 since October 2nd. 2019. So that's the NXT rating. Do you want to react to that, or do you want me to give the Dynamite rating and we'll talk about the head-to-head?
Well, it's a monster rating. I mean, there's no other way to cut it, and it had to be. If you're going to load it up with Cody and John Cena and The Undertaker, there's really not anything. You can't do anything bigger than that unless you're going to bring Roman Reigns on.
That's all the big dogs. Yeah, all that we had Rhea there. Dom, Cody.
Yeah, then you go to the next
LA
level
Knight,
with those kind of people.
John Cena, Asuka. I mean, they brought them all out. All of them. Right.
Jade Cargill getting out of a limo again, and which
she likes to ride in limos and get out of them. But I don't know. What's the next step? What do they got next?
I apparently missed that because I saw people talking about that, and I didn't even remember seeing it. So it must have happened on a commercial bumper where I like fast forwarded through it or something. But it's like people got to pump the brakes on Jade Cargill. I mean, she has now exited a limo twice. And you read some of these tweets and you see some of these news stories, and you would think that fucking I don't know, Greta Garbo is in the company now or something. They just get, she's such an incredible star. The star power oozing off of this one. Did I miss something? Was she drawing 2 million viewers to Rampage against fucking
Layla
Red Velvet?
Red Velvet.
Can we pump the fucking brakes on how much of a star that she? I mean, She's got some charisma.
Yeah, she looks the part, and she's got charisma. And I've always said that, but I've never. I mean, she's been on television for a couple of years now, and it's like I don't know. I haven't quite seen it. Like you and I both agree that she's probably better suited for WWE, and if anybody's going to make her a star,
we talked about it a million times.
Yeah,
this is the best move possible for her and everyone else involved. But can we please calm down?
Well, can we let her do it? Yeah, can we let her do it? Can we actually see it before we go, oh my God, what a superstar. Oh my God, this is a WrestleMania main eventer here. It's like, yeah, she looks like $1 million and she looks good getting out of a limo, but let's maybe work on something else now. I
mean, geez, can we let her have one of her star and 3/4 matches first before we decide that she's going to take over the industry? I mean, geez, have we forgotten that she has 2 left feet? All right, look, I understand they're gonna put the muscle behind her and present her well, but I am getting so sick and tired. Now, listen, some of this is I've been out on Jade for a fucking year. I mean, I was out on Jade, halfway through the AEW run when it was patently obvious that this was the ceiling. There's nothing left here. She's never gonna have great matches, and for me, that's pretty important. And just in that company, I couldn't see her having much more upside because of that, and she obviously recognized that too, and she got the fuck out of there. And I think it was the right move. And I do think this is obviously a great move for her and a great move to sign her and a no-brainer and all those things. But geez, all she has done is stepped out of a fucking limo. Okay? I can't fucking take it. They're making me sick of this person before she even does anything. All right? Can we get her in the ring first and see if maybe, she doesn't have 2 left feet anymore?
Right, let her prove it.
Decide.
It'll be more fun if you just let her prove it and you go, and then you see something that happens in actuality and go, yeah, there you go. That is what we all thought that she was capable of. That's the superstar charisma, and that's all that. But yeah, she walks out of a limo and people are like, oh my God, look at her. It's like, okay, hold on a minute.
Jeez, all right. She looks all right. I mean, jeez. This isn't the second coming of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson either. I mean, let's take it easy. She's been on TV for 2 years, okay? So we see what she brings to the table, So anyway, so yeah, like we were saying, if you're gonna empty the holster in that way and have all these people, you better fucking crush it and do a monster rating, and they did. They did almost 1 million viewers. A 0.3 is fucking absurd for that TV show, and and I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but they had Cena and yeah, well, that's the fucking point. They brought all those people on and they did the monster number. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, correct. They had all those people on and they achieved what they were trying to achieve, which was to put up this monster number. And they did. I mean, they're, it's, and I think that any reasonable minded person, I mean, we said it last week, figured that they were going to win. I mean, I knew that they were going to win in total viewers. I thought that maybe Dynamite had a chance to win the demo. Now, if you would have put a gun to my head and said, I would have said, well, with all that star power, and the momentum, NXT is probably going to win the demo too.
On their normal night too, yeah. It makes a little more sense.
On their normal night, all those things. But I didn't think it was a foregone conclusion like the total viewership was going to be. The total viewership was never going to be a competition. It wasn't. They fucking destroyed them. I mean, anyway, give the AEW number.
Yeah, AEW Dynamite preempted on TBS at 8 p.m. It moved to obviously Tuesday, was watched by 609,000 viewers on average and a 0.26 in the 18 to 49 demo. That was down 24% compared to last week's total viewership. And among 18 to 49, it was down 5% from last week's 0.28.
Yeah. So, as expected, crush them in total viewers. I think if AEW is looking for a victory here in a sea of defeat, it would have to be that demo number of 0.26 because the previous week in the regular time slot, Dynamite did a 0.28. So I think to do a 0.26 going on an unfamiliar night, going head to head with a show that just had way more star power than your show had, you can look at that as a minor victory. I think there's no doubt about that. And I also think the fact that this was hyped up as, like a Tuesday night war and everybody, I think that helped both shows to some degree. I think that there was probably a lot of people who checked out NXT who normally do not watch it. There was obviously a lot of channel flipping going on. And there were probably some people who checked out Dynamite who normally don't check it out. And obviously, when you look at the total viewership, the total average viewership for the night, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of what a Raw is doing these days. Now, that's probably a little deceptive because a lot of that viewership are the same people being counted watching both shows. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure. Oh, yeah. That was always the case in the Monday Night Wars. People were like, oh, my God, 6 million people were watching, or, 8 million people were watching wrestling. And it's like, well, a lot of the people were bouncing back and forth and popping back into idiots. So, yeah, it's
like Dave Meltzer always talks about, like, if you watch 40 minutes, you're a third of a person, like that kind of deal. It's like, but yeah, so from that standpoint, I think like we talked about last week when Hawaii had their short-lived promotional war. And for the first couple of months, it helped both sides, because wrestling was being hyped to a different degree and all these huge stars, and both sides were bringing out all the big guns, so this is kind of a similar deal here, not apples to apples, but I do think that the fact that we did have this deal, going head to head, it's weird. I think it hurt both sides, but also helps both sides in a way too. And I think, it's reflected in some of these numbers, but a minor win for Dynamite, the 0.26, I would say. Now, if you're some hardcore AEW fan, stop trying to spin this into some kind of victory that you came close in the demo with the 0.3 to the 0.26. Please stop.
Right.
Stop.
You blitzed this show off of the fucking day. You were beating their ass so badly they moved to a different day.
Yeah.
And
now, the last time they went head to head on NXT's night, by the way.
Yes. Everybody's saying, well, it's not Dynamite's night. It's Tuesday. Okay. Well, what happened the last time they did this when they
Dynamite won the demo?
Handily.
Yeah, Dynamite, won the demo with the same 0.26 number, which again, the 0.26 you could see as a minor win because they did the same number they did last time, except this time NXT blew them away. And if your argument is, WWE loaded up with those stars, once again, my answer is yes, they did. And they won. And that's why they won, because they had more stars. That's why we knew they were going to win. I don't understand how that's like
also
some kind of counter argument.
This wasn't a normal Dynamite. I mean, could it be a normal Dynamite? Yes. Was this a normal Dynamite? Not really. They got the commercial free 47 minutes or whatever. Danielson and Swerve is a pay-per-view level match. Page and White, if you want to call it a pay-per-view level match, was there. Copeland making his debut. Don't act like AEW was just like, we're just going to do our show. Let NXT do whatever they want to do. They were hyping the fuck out of this show. So come on. be reasonable
47
here.
Straight commercial-free minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, and an overrun. And look, both shows, did they do? Look, was Kenny Omega on the show? Were the Young Bucks on the show? Was MJF not announced for the show to have a segment? No, he wasn't. Could AEW have really gone harder? Yes, but you know what? WWE could have too. So, did WWE go harder than AEW? Yes, they did. I think it was more important to them to win because I think it would have been, even more embarrassing after pulling out all the stops if they would have lost either total viewership or the demo with everything so they ensured that they were going to win, and they did. What does it mean long term? Probably not much. It's bragging rights. It's bragging rights for a week. It's bragging rights till the next time they go head to head. But it's interesting to me, the psychology behind, AEW came close, so that's really a win for them. It's like the goalpost has maybe that's not the right phrasing, but the bar has definitely been moved now to where, that's kind of an admission that of, how hot NXT and how hot WWE as a whole is in comparison to AEW, where some people are reading this as a win for AEW, even though they lost, when normally they win head to head with this show. So, it's just the interesting psychology behind that. But, and remember now, this is now the second week in a row where NXT has beaten Dynamite in total viewership. This time head to head, but last week they had more total viewers, I think, than Dynamite had, and then, we see what happens next week. The question is, by loading up NXT, the WWE fans now stick with the ones that normally don't watch NXT. Do they stick with it for a few weeks now? Did they say to themselves, you know what? I popped in for Cody and Cena, but I enjoyed myself. I'm going to watch next Tuesday when I normally don't. And we see. But that wasn't the goal here. Make no mistake. The goal here was to beat AEW.
Right. The goal was to do what is to have conversations like we're having right now and mention the numbers that we're mentioning right now. That's what the goal was.
Yeah, that was the goal. That was the point. Anyone saying that it was to increase the, media rights with the deal coming up, utter nonsense. I mean, first of all, you're a year late because they've been loading up this show with main roster people to increase the ratings for the deal coming up for months and months and months. So you're behind the curve on that. We've been talking about that for almost a year.
Right. Smart wrestling fans that listen to us know well aware what NXT's been doing for a while now.
Why Dominic and Becky Lynch and all these people are on the show. That's not what this was. This was to beat AEW because AEW was forced to move to their night. And that's the other thing. You can't have people like Dave Scherer out here saying that AEW. Now, I know he's a nutcase and completely. I know he has no grasp with reality anymore. And the only reason I'm bringing him up is because he does own like a legitimate news site. So when he does say things, unfortunately, it's newsworthy. But, him saying that AEW was invading WWE's night. And it's like, see, you're Rich, here's the thing. You're laughing. And I know why you're laughing, because it's completely and utterly absurd. We all know that the baseball game moved.
NHL. I think it was NHL this time, right?
The sports. Let's just say the sports. So we all know that the sports necessitated the move. Anyone listening to this show understands that. This wasn't Tony Khan deciding that he wanted to go ahead.
Petting his cat in his big chair going, I know what we'll do. We'll move to Tuesday.
and we all know Dave Scherer has lost all grasp with reality when there's something going on between him and Tony Khan. I don't know what it is, but the man's a fucking lunatic. But here's the problem. We can laugh at it, but because of who he is, and when you have people in high profile, and the same goes for the grifters, your Eric Bischoffs and some of the wild things that they say, people then take on those same opinions. And it just drags the discussions and the discourse and everything just into the fucking gutter. And that's the problem with it. It's these people have influence, they have followings, and they say these stupid things. And as we know, most of the general public is pretty stupid. And then, it becomes something that people think is true. And there's really nothing you could do about it. But, it's disturbing nonetheless. But, I don't know. You sent me a text a couple days ago. We have largely been removed from Twitter for over 2 years now, where we haven't made a single tweet that is anything other than putting out a link. It's basically all that our Twitter account does. So we're not even exposed to much of this nonsense as much as a lot of other people are, because we're just simply not on that app as much as certainly not as much as we used to be. And where a lot of this, so we probably missed a lot of the worst of the discussions over these numbers or whatnot. I'll tell you someone who hasn't logged off, Rich, and that's Tony Khan.
Yeah.
What is this man doing? Now, I appreciate and often enjoy Poster Tony. I think he's had some classic tweets over the years. And I thought taking the shot at Vince McMahon the other day was funny. I didn't have a problem with that. Look, that's Vince's bed and he's got a lie in it. Maybe that's not the best analogy to make.
Unfortunately, as Tony alluded to, he's lied in a lot of beds and he shot a lot of shots. But
you get the idea.
For sure. And the people being like, this is unbecoming of how somebody that represents a company should act. Well, you know what's unbecoming of how somebody should run a company should act is fucking Vince McMahon, motherfucker.
Rich, how about the raping? How's that
right. How about the numerous sexual assaults?
Allegedly.
from that one guy. Yeah, right. Allegedly. A lot of money getting paid for alleged sexual assaults. But regardless, yes, alleged sexual assaults. That is unbecoming.
I'll tell you what's unbecoming. The raping. That's what I would say is unbecoming. But yeah, no, look, allegedly. But I don't, that, like, Poster Tony's great. The one where Tony just came off, I thought the one that was loser shit was the contrived statistic that he whipped up, saying that this is the first time ever that John Cena or The Undertaker have drawn less than 1 million viewers to a television show. Tony, that's loser shit.
You lost to the show too. The show that you're like, you lost. You can't say that.
You didn't just lose. You got fucking destroyed. I mean,
you can't say that when you lost.
That tweet's about total viewership. They beat you by over 50% in total viewership. So it's like, that's no victory that you held fucking The Undertaker under 1 million viewers.
Can you imagine like an NBA team, like say the Detroit Pistons are facing the Denver Nuggets, and they hold the Denver Nuggets to 115 points. They lose 115 to 98 or whatever. They just get destroyed. And the Detroit Pistons Twitter account says, the Denver Nuggets, they did not score 120 points. That's the first time in the last 12 games that they've failed to score 120 points. Oh, and we lost, but by 30. But that we held them to 116 or whatever the fuck number I said. Like, that would be the biggest loser shit ever. Everybody would dunk on the Detroit Pistons Twitter account if they tweeted that out. Like, that is complete loser shit. You lost to that show. You can't do that.
We held them under their average.
Right. Jokic didn't get a triple-double. That's the first time he hasn't had a triple-double in 2 weeks. And he has 29, 8, and 7. It's like, and he doesn't play the fourth quarter because they're beating you so badly. It's like, come on, you can't do that.
Yeah, but but now we've got people like Brian Alvarez and some other reporters saying that there's wrestlers inside the company who are fucking embarrassed by this shit. And they're like, they want Tony to put the fucking phone away. And, I haven't personally heard from anyone that has said that, but I have no reason to doubt that that's true. And I don't know. He doesn't seem to be taking this very well.
No, he doesn't. Here's my thing with all of it is, It's X, formerly known as Twitter. That's my favorite thing about Twitter these days, is that anytime the New York Times or any of these publications talk about it, they don't call it Twitter because they can't, because technically it's called X, but they have to let you know that when they're saying X that they mean Twitter. Yeah. So every time it says Eminem took to X, comma, formerly known as Twitter, comma, to say this or whatever. It's just like they do it every time, and it's so hilarious. And the best part is, like, on Twitter too, like when you share a link, it says X, parentheses, formerly known as Twitter. It's like, what are we doing? This is so stupid. But here's my thing on it. Twitter, X, none of this shit matters. It's stupid. It's bullshit. It's dumb. The numbers don't matter. We live in a little microcosm, and we live in this little world where we assume that it matters, and it doesn't. I swear to God it doesn't. I work in social media. I'm telling you it doesn't. This website is proof of it. This podcast is proof of it. The Patreon is proof of it. It doesn't matter. It's siloed. Most people don't know about this shit. Most people don't care about this shit. It doesn't really matter. So from one standpoint, it's like Tony can do these little things and laugh and whatever. I ultimately don't think it's going to do a ton of damage to the company. I don't think the company is that Warner Brothers or anybody's going to get mad about this and it's going to destroy the company, or the ratings are going to plummet, or attendance is going to plummet, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't really matter. It's a guy posting on Twitter, and the same niche audience that's on Twitter no matter what is going to get all riled up by it and stuff, whatever. But at the same time, it also doesn't matter. It doesn't matter from both ends. Tony, there's got to be a better use of your time, right? Like, there has to be a better use of your time.
You know what's else is disturbing, though, is he's liking a bunch of tweets from just randos saying, that are praising the Dynamite show, and I don't know. I feel like what this is telling me is he felt like he was going to win, which he couldn't have really thought he was going to win, right? Like, they couldn't win. There was no way they were going to win. But that's what I mean. Like, he obviously thought he was going to win, and he's not taking it well. Because there was no chance they were going to win going up against that. But it's this is the first time that Poster Tony is really coming off a little cringe. This has not been a good couple of days perception-wise. And like you're saying, ultimately, it probably doesn't matter. But, you don't know what the people who work for him are thinking, or people who don't work for him.
Right. It might matter to some people, and I think that's my double-edged sword of the "it doesn't matter" thing. It doesn't matter because it's a niche of a niche, and it's Twitter, and it's all this little siloed thing, and this little walled-off land that people that nobody cares more about Twitter than people that are in it and on it, and nobody cares. People that aren't on it or aren't in it know nothing about what's going on Twitter. Your Gen Pop, the mom test, you always do it with TLB, where you're like, "Hey TLB, what about this?" And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And you're like, "Oh, it's the biggest thing on Twitter." And it's like normal people have no fucking clue what's going on.
No clue.
Like you think it's a big deal because you're on Twitter and all your friends are retweeting it and talking about it and stuff. People in the outside world have no fucking idea what's going on, and very few people use Twitter. It might seem crazy, and you might go, Rich, there's no way. Look at a lot less people use Twitter than you think use Twitter. Because you're in it, you think a lot of people use it. A lot of people don't use it. But at the same time, I don't think it's a good use of their time. I don't think it's a good use of Tony's time. I don't think it's a good use of AEW's time. I think they spend a lot of time on Twitter and a lot of time promoting stuff on Twitter and a lot of time discussing things on Twitter. They need to do a better job of marketing these shows to audiences and to fan bases and to areas and to regions. Like, I'm sorry, man. Log off a little bit. Stop liking tweets. Go out there and get better at marketing these shows so some people can come to these fucking buildings to watch your television shows and to watch your pay-per-views, man. Like, that is the looking at the live attendance coming up very soon is not good. It is not good. And it feels like there's just a lot of effort and a lot of energy put in to a Twitter presence in 2023, and it matters so much less than it's ever mattered.
Might not even exist soon.
Yeah. If we're lucky, hopefully not.
I mean, but if these head-to-head ratings battles matter that much to Tony, then maybe instead of all of this cope on Twitter, he should be holed up in a room trying to figure out how next time to beat the show.
That's what I'm saying.
Even though John Cena and The Undertaker and Roman Reigns and whoever else is going to be on it. Because I don't think that's an impossible goal. I didn't think they were going to win this time around just based on where both companies are, but they beat them a year earlier, and I understand NXT didn't load up, but they beat them a year earlier and maybe figure out, okay, how do I ensure that if this really matters this much to you, these head-to-heads, how do I ensure this doesn't happen again? How do I ensure that I do win? Put the energy into that.
Right. Liking tweets of people saying, Tony, you had the better show. Screw those guys. Like that's weird.
Man, it just comes off a little weird. I don't know. It's just not a good look. And that Undertaker Cena tweet is just so cringe.
It's the bad.
It's just loser shit. It's just, it's like that. There's this Trump meme where he's sitting in a golf cart. And the meme says, "Get in, loser. We're going losing." Like, that's what it reminds me of. Like, this is just loser shit to tweet something like that. Like, it's such a non-point that no one in their right mind would care about. Do you think there's anybody in WWE right now who is upset
you think
that
John
Undertaker and John Cena drew under 1 million total viewers?
John Cena threw his phone on the couch and went, "God damn it!"
Yeah, Or do you think Nick Khan is giving Cena a call? Is giving Cena a call today, saying, "You know what, John? I don't give a fuck about the actor strike. You're out of here. You didn't even draw 1 million."
Right. Look at this. Look at this number. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, they're dancing on fucking. They're popping fucking champagne over these numbers they put up.
And your reaction to the numbers they put up, and they're popping champagne to the numbers you put up.
Yeah, I mean, they're mocking these tweets for sure. So, in fact, I mean, if according to Nick Hausman, he says that they are in fact mocking these tweets inside the other company with the report that he put out. So,
another man that sorry, we don't know if another man, but people in the Punk camp, are saying that CM Punk is saying that this is one good reason to get out of. That he's so glad. He said, I'm out of AEW. All this drama and all this shit. I'm so glad I'm not in that company right now.
Phil Brooks just couldn't deal with the drama, Rich.
He's so sick of it.
He likes to be drama free. So
right. He's like, I just know he's sitting there on his couch reading a comic book or whatever. He picks up his phone for the one time a day that he picks up his phone. He scrolls Twitter and goes, all this drama. I hate it.
the funniest part of that is the one time a day that he picks up his phone.
He turns it on. You know how back in the day we used to turn our phones on? Do you remember that? You were alive during the turn your cell phone on days, right?
Yeah, turn it on, yeah.
You're like, I should turn this on and see what's happening, see if I got a voicemail or a call today. So I turn on my Nokia phone or whatever, but yeah.
The logo loads up and it makes the fucking little song.
Right. Like, let's see what's happening. All right, nothing.
And you gotta wait like 2.5 minutes for everything, for the
right.
apps to load up and for the time to pop up and everything. Yeah, no, yeah.
And guess what? Nothing. Nobody wanted to get to you. There was no calls. There was no voicemails. No, it was never anything.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well,
yeah. You think it's gonna blow up when you turn it on. You think it's gonna blow up, and then you quickly discover, no, nobody wants to talk to me. No one cares about me. It's a sad existence. You get like you got one tweet and it's like the notification that your bills due. Like it's not even a real tweet, So yeah, that's the turning on the phone experience. But CM Punk, I mean, it's so funny hearing him say, this is the kind of drama I want to get away from.
Thank God I got myself away from this as I post another Dr. Doom screenshot on my Instagram account with some weird quotes in it. I'm so glad I got out of this.
Yeah. But I guess we should just talk about Punk then.
Yeah, let's move into it.
So, look, the Sean Ross Sapp report came out, and this was from the WWE side, and they told him that there are no ongoing negotiations or current negotiations with CM Punk. Okay. And this is one of those situations where people really don't understand the role of a reporter or what these reports mean. Because then everyone's instantly saying that Dave Meltzer must have been wrong when he said that the two sides had talked. And, and then I saw people saying, well, if Punk does end up with WWE, Sean Ross Sapp is going to look bad and have egg on his face. And all of this is fucking nonsense. All Sean Ross Sapp did was report what the WWE office told him, and that is Sean Ross Sapp's job. Okay? He made it clear in his report that the information that he was reporting was coming from WWE, who were saying that they were not currently negotiating and had no ongoing negotiations currently with CM Punk. Okay? If they call up CM Punk tomorrow and sign him, there is no egg on Sean Ross Sapp's face. He didn't report anything that was wrong or erroneous. He simply told you what the company told him. He told you who the sources were. He said it was from the company. That is what reporting news is. That doesn't invalidate Dave Meltzer saying that sources from the Punk camp said that the two sides were in talks and that Punk wanted to return to the company. That was Dave Meltzer reporting what someone told him and telling you who the people were that told him the information. This is what reporting is. And I just don't understand why wrestling fans are so thick when it comes to this stuff. And I understand sometimes when it's Punk involved, it's the CM Punk thing where people lose their fucking minds because people feel so strongly about CM Punk in either direction that whatever morsel comes out that fits the side that they're on, they extrapolate it. So this Sean Ross Sapp report comes out saying that they're not talking to him or negotiating with him right now. So all of the crazy anti-Punk people are going, see, it was all bullshit. He never talked to them. That's not what the Sean Ross Sapp report said. It said that they're not negotiating with him right now. That doesn't mean that what Dave said the week before was wrong. And by the way, I had no less than 4 people tell me that CM Punk was talking to WWE. And in fact, I was given names of some of the people in the office that he spoke to. Okay? So, either everyone's being fucking lied to, or he was in fact talking to them, and now he's not. That's the obvious chain of events here. He talked, because then Meltzer came out with a new report saying that they turned him down.
Right. Yeah, his latest one on the Wrestling Observer Radio, he just put it bluntly. They turned him down. They ultimately decided that that wasn't what they wanted to go with. They decided not to. And again, he did preface it by saying, and again, if he does eventually go there, people can't say, Dave blew that one. He fucked that one up. He says it like they turned him down. Now, does that mean he will never, ever, ever, ever work there again? No, it doesn't mean that. But now they said.
But for some reason, that's how wrestling fans consume news and things.
We're dumb. We're idiots. And we have no media literacy whatsoever. And it's just awful.
How many times in sports, Rich, have you seen a reporter say the GM of the Chicago White Sox says that they're not trading John Doe, relief pitcher, and then 3 days later the guy gets traded? Is there any egg on the reporter's face? None. He's just telling you what the GM told him. Sometimes these people lie. Sometimes these people change their mind. Sometimes just new information develops. A reporter's job is just to report what they're told. And when they're flat out giving you the source, like both Meltzer and Sapp have done, there's no egg on any faces to be had. That's the information. The information is the Punk camp says the two sides were in talks. That's the information from Dave. The information from Sean is WWE says they're not talking to him right now, and there's no negotiations happening. That is literally the information. Well, okay, these reporters, it's not, you don't have, they expect these reporters to have crystal balls and know what's going to happen a month from now, a week from now, a day from now. The news changes every day.
Or only report what they believe. That, okay, WWE can tell me that they're not talking to him, but I don't believe that, so I'm not going to, that's not how reporting is. You have to say, a source told me that this is what's happening. That doesn't mean that you believe it or that's
you don't have to believe it.
Right. But your job as a reporter is to say, this is what this source is telling me. And you can decide if, how much merit that has. You can decide, this source is blowing smoke up this guy's ass, or this source is fun. But you cannot get mad at the reporter for saying this source told me this. Like, that's not how it works. And somewhere along the line, that's how people decided that it worked. And that's just, I don't know what we're doing here.
It's like I saw people coming at Sean saying, oh, well, they're lying to you. They're working you. And my response, if I was Sean, would be, well, why is that my problem? I'm telling you what they told me. I'm not telling you whether you should believe it or not. This is literally what they fucking told me. And I'm telling you what they told me. That's how reporting works. I'm reporting the information that I gathered. You do what you want with it.
I report, you decide. I report, you decide.
You can get mad at the information. You can claim that they're lying. You can claim it. I don't care what you do with it. But why is it? It's not my problem if you don't believe the information. I'm telling you the information. I'm telling you where I got it from. Now, I'm telling you right now, I heard the same shit that Dave heard. That they were, in fact, talking to, the two sides were talking. And that was probably, 2 weeks ago or something, or a week ago, whatever it was. And now Dave's saying they turned him down. And oddly enough, I haven't heard anything from anyone in like a week about it. Other than, at the time, one wrestler told me, someone who I wouldn't describe as being in the Punk camp, that not only he talked to him, but I was told the person that he talked to. And you don't get much higher than the person I was told. So I was like, oh shit, these are deep talks if he's talking to that guy. But obviously it went nowhere. And here's the other thing. Why don't you use a little fucking common sense? I know everybody loses their mind over CM Punk, okay? And all reality just evaporates from your fucking brain.
Of course WWE would kick the tires on the guy. Why would you not at least talk to the guy for a minute or two?
You have to be a fucking imbecile if you think WWE didn't talk to him at some point. Why wouldn't they? It's patently ridiculous to think that at some point they wouldn't have had a conversation.
That would be malpractice on their side to not talk to the guy at least.
Yes. Especially since it's open information that he's been reaching out to them. Do you think Phil Brooks is going to pop up on Nick Khan's cell phone and he's not going to answer? Are you out of your minds? Of course he's going to take the call. That doesn't mean he's going to sign the guy. It doesn't mean necessarily it's going to go anywhere. But if you don't think that that company has had contact with CM Punk, you're delusional. Why wouldn't they? It's like Meltzer always says, ultimately, it's going to be up to Vince McMahon. If Vince McMahon wants CM Punk in that company, CM Punk is going to be in that company. Paul Levesque be damned. Nick Khan be damned. Roman Reigns be damned. Anyone else who has a problem with the guy. If Vince wants him there, he's going to be there. And they're going to have to just swallow their pride, whoever doesn't want him there. And I'm not even saying all those people don't want him there. Some of them probably don't. I was just throwing out names. My point here is no matter who the names are, no matter how powerful you think they are, if Vince wants that guy in the company, he's going to be there. That's all there is to it. And we'll see. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But I think anyone who thinks they haven't talked is out of their mind. And that's not just because I had people tell me that. It's just common sense. I don't need anybody to tell me they were talking for me. Because that, you know what my reaction was when people told me? I woke up one morning and had all these random messages saying, I heard Punk's talking to WWE. So I said, all right. So I started texting some people that might know and might be familiar with it. And then they were like, oh, yeah. And then I got it confirmed from a couple different people that Punk was, in fact, talking to WWE. My reaction to that was, oh, well, that just, okay. That was going to happen at some point. This is not a surprise. Of course they're going to talk. Why wouldn't they talk? So I don't know why anyone would be surprised by that. And I don't know why anybody would be surprised that they don't want him around either. Look at the fucking chaos he just caused in the other company. Why would you know, I can understand if you're not frothing at the mouth to bring this guy into your company. He's like a poison pill at this point. So, I don't know. What's your take from all this? Anything different than what I had to say?
Not really. I mean, obviously, no doubt that WWE was going to talk to the guy at some point. No doubt. I mean, from CM Punk's perspective, of course he was going to call WWE and say, hey, bring me in. This will be a, great thing because for him, it would be a great thing for him. It would be one of the best things in the world for him. And it'd be a way for him to stick it to Tony and stick it to AEW and get himself back in the spotlight and all that sort of stuff. Of course, he's going to want to go back to WWE, and people saying, all right, but he said he was never going to go back there. He's a professional wrestler, man. He doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? He doesn't care.
And
he's
also
a mercenary.
Circumstances change. He wants to embarrass the other side now.
Right. He now has a new enemy, an enemy maybe even greater than his old enemy. So yeah, he's no doubt ready. And I bet he talked a lot of shit about them all over the years. Well, yeah, but yeah, he's going to swallow all that to try to stick it to his new enemy. So of course he'd be fine coming. So from his perspective, of course he wants to be back in WWE. Of course that's what he wants to do. From WWE's perspective, of course you answer the call, you talk to the guy, you see where his head's at, and then ultimately you get off the phone, you get everybody in a room, you get everybody in an email string, you get everybody in a text string or whatever, and you say, okay, what are the pros? What are the cons? Is this worth it? Is this worth doing? And ultimately at this time they decided it's not. And I tend to agree with that. I think that he probably is not worth it to them right now. They got a pretty good thing going right now. They got a well-oiled machine. They got a lot of stars that are kind of stuck in their spots. There's a lot of happiness around the company, and Paul Levesque's back in charge, Joe. He has all of the creative power this time for real. We promise. It's all Paul Levesque. So that's got everybody going, hey, now we're happy to work for Endeavor/WWE because Uncle Paul's in charge or whatever. So you have all that going on. You have a company that's happy. You have a fan base that's happy. You have, everything seems pretty good for that company. Man, is this the time you want to bring this guy in? Yes. Will it maybe get you one more over on AEW? Sure. You're getting over on AEW without this guy. You know what I mean? You're getting wins over AEW without this guy. And then you add in all the cons, like we talked about, all the potential negatives that do come with this guy that yeah, I understand why they would sit down at that table, Nick, Paul, Vince, whoever is involved, and just say, yeah, we're good now. There might come a time in a year where things start to soften a little bit. Things maybe, the house shows aren't doing as well. The TVs aren't doing as well. Roman's not over anymore. All that sort of stuff that you say, you know what? Let's call the guy back and see where he's at or whatever. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But right now, you don't need this guy. CM Punk needs WWE more than WWE needs CM Punk right now. So I think that they made probably the right move by saying, hey, we're not that interested right now. And again, that can change in weeks and months or whatever. But I think that they're probably better off without him. And I don't know what's next for CM Punk. He's kind of at this point now where I don't know. He's not going to show up on Impact. I mean, if he was really going to walk the walk and talk the talk, like he'd pop his ass up on Bound for Glory and be all about, what he says he's going to be about. But, we know that, from a financial standpoint and from a, star power standpoint, he's not showing up on Impact. He's not showing up in New Japan. He's not showing up. I mean, it's WWE or AEW, probably only WWE at this point for him.
He did visit the Impact locker room during his last injury. And when he was poking around the first time he was sending feelers to WWE, he showed up at the Impact locker room. So
He should. I mean, honestly, that would be cool. Like, I think that's kind of awesome if he did that. I think it'd be cool for Impact. Obviously, they would be more than welcoming for FCM Punk. They don't give a shit about a malcontent and a vibe, you know, as someone in our Noto chat room says, injury-prone vibe killer and a malcontent. I think Impact Wrestling will take all that, all those cons for the pro of CM Punk.
Let me tell you something. Even with everything that has happened, if you're Impact Wrestling and he calls
that red carpet can't be long enough.
Bring him in.
Of course.
Come on. If he's got a price that you could afford, of course if you're Impact, you bring in CM Punk. What are we even doing here? I mean, that's a no-brainer. But Punk's not going to do that.
No, he would never do that.
He's not going to do that. What I think will probably happen here is Vince will wake up one morning in a cranky mood over a rating or whatever the fuck, some creative direction. And he's going to wake up one morning and go, you know what we need? We need CM Punk. I'm going to shake things up. And he's probably going to bring him in. I think that's the way it's going to play out. It's too tempting, Rich. It's too tempting. And you could sit there and talk about all the baggage and all the people that hate him. When has Vince been above bringing someone back, even despite all of those things?
Sometimes he likes to do that because you are showing up hat in hand.
Win.
You are showing up hat in hand for him. Warrior, Goldberg, all the numerous. The only guy that never came back was Randy Savage. Everybody else, Hogan, Warrior, Goldberg, Nate, Sid, even Jeff Jarrett. Even Jeff Jarrett eventually found his way back in that company. Everybody except for Randy Savage has found their way back in the company, and he loves it because you have to show up hat in hand and go, "Hello, Mr. McMahon, how are you?"
And in Vince's warped way, you know, he does really believe he's always given the fans what they want, and if he feels like the fans want CM Punk, I think he will deliver him, especially if he wants to make a splash. And you don't know what happens down the road. What if there's another head-to-head scenario, either on television or pay-per-views on the same weekend or in the same town? And, you know, I think having CM Punk in your back pocket is a nice card to be able to play at some point if you're Vince McMahon, right?
Oh, yeah. I think this is the best time to say, hey, no, we're not interested. And you got that number on I'm saying speed dial. That's an old term or whatever. But you know what I mean? You have the number. You have that, you know, break in case of emergency. And you got the Punk thing. You can call it. He ain't coming back to AEW anytime soon. And I don't think he's signing any sort of contract with the NWA or MLW or Impact. So, yeah, whenever you need to break glass in case of emergency, you call the guy and maybe it happens.
What if Raw ends up on Wednesday nights? And they want to make a big splashy debut. I mean, what better than to do it with CM Punk?
Which I want to talk about that real quick because Ari Emanuel has been making the rounds, making the media rounds. Obviously, the guy in charge of this new Endeavor, and obviously the overseeing the TKO operation, the conglomerate of UFC and WWE. He has said, "Yeah, we'll move Raw. We'll do whatever. Yeah, any TV station that wants to call us and give us some money, the show is yours. Move it wherever you need to. Do whatever you got to do with it. Just pay us the money. We're good." So, yeah.
Quite frankly, getting away from Monday Night Football is something that they're probably not going to be upset about. You know, even if it breaks 30 years of tradition or whatever. It's a new company. It's a new mindset.
They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the history of WWE Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. They don't give a fuck. They don't care.
Yeah, and if they are sick and tired of Tony Khan calling them bald fucks, then, maybe they do go for the throat and try to compete with them head to head and everything else. By the way, how many people do you think don't understand it? That's a Curb Your Enthusiasm reference.
Probably 90% of the people that are upset about it have no idea that it's from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yes.
Now, make no mistake. He's still
it's a double entendre for sure.
He's still calling them bald.
Right.
But it's from a Curb episode. Where Larry is he's saying that being called bald is a hate crime is the basis of the episode. And anyway, it's from it's from a television show, and I'm not sure that a lot of people understood the reference, even though at the same time he really is calling Triple H and Shawn Michaels bald. It's just fucking stupid, Rich. Like it's again, I usually enjoy Poster Tony. I don't know. He's kind of losing his grip on reality a little bit here with some of these tweets. But
that was a Halloween episode too, right? I think it was he gave some bad candy or something. I forget what it was, but I remember it was a Halloween related episode too. So it all plays into it. But yeah, again, it is a Curb Your Enthusiasm joke, but make no question, it's about Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Yeah. So, no, it's still like a personal attack, I guess. But if you understand where the reference is coming from, it does take the edge off a little. I don't know. Why are we even doing this? So that's Punk, and I guess I don't know. We done with Punk? You got anything else on Punk?
Got nothing. Joe, I am done with Punk for the record. I am over it for quite a while. I am more than happy to move on, and I cannot imagine people who spend day and night breaking down Instagram posts from this guy. It's like, I'm good, man. Call me when he signs to WWE. Call me when he shows up in Impact. Call me when he's, signing on the dotted line with Billy Corgan's NWA. Until then, I think I'm pretty good.
I'm not good. I personally am not going to read between the lines on Submariner quotes from comic books.
Did he post any Submariner, or is that just your go-to like dork comic book character?
I figured that was a popular comic book character.
Submariner. Yeah, he's big with the kids these days.
Is he part of the fucking
the MCU
movies?
The MCU. Well, you're asking the absolute wrong guy.
He's not in the MCU Submariner. He's not fighting with the Avengers in those dopey movies.
I don't know.
No,
I don't.
Right.
Again, you are asking the absolute wrong person who has seen exactly zero of the MCU movies and has zero plans to ever watch a single second of any of them. So yeah, I don't know.
Because they dig out all the obscure ones.
They got it. They're doing like 9 movies a year. They got to go Submariner at some point.
Well,
I'm sure
they got to get they got to get the glove gimmick off of the guy. So you got to get everyone out, because otherwise. If they don't get the glove gimmick off of the guy, he's going to like snap his fingers or some shit and send them into the fucking multiverse. So Rich, you got to get everybody out there, including Submariner, who I'm sure is one of the background, unless he's so like obscure and shitty that they don't even bother shoehorning Submariner into the battle against the guy with the glove. I don't know. But I have seen some of these movies. I have my 6-year-old now has discovered these movies on the Disney Plus. But here's what he does. It's pretty cool what he does. He just fast forwards to the battle scenes. So
the lore, he doesn't give a shit about the lore and the background. He's like, let's see some shit explode, baby. Let's go.
Correct. That's what he does. So he goes through each movie, fast forwards until he sees like explosions and stuff, and then he watches the battle scene, and then fast forwards to the next one, rinse, repeat. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on, who's on whose side. He has a vague understanding of who the good guys and the bad guys are, but that's about it. But he's there for the high spots, Rich. He just wants to see shit blow up. So I kind of
I gotta respect it. I respect the hell out of it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I'm confused. I was watching I woke up the other day and The Flash was on fucking Showtime or something, right? Because I guess that's on cable now. With Ezra Miller, that psychopath who's very controversial. But
I was gonna say very canceled, but he's not canceled, right? He's just controversial. If I'm following, who knows?
Again, we're the wrong people.
Yeah, the absolute worst people on earth.
A lot of people hate Ezra Miller.
Yes, correct. But there you go.
I'm watching this movie, and they brought back Michael Keaton as Batman in this movie. Okay. And
try to tap into 90s nostalgia here, or what are we trying to do here with Michael Keaton coming back as Batman?
There's a scene here, and Michael Keaton is explaining to the two Flashes. Don't ask why there's two Flashes. I don't want to explain. I could explain it, but I don't want to explain it.
Please don't. I would prefer if you didn't.
And he explains using spaghetti strands that he's saying to the two Flashes, the two Ezra Millers, he's saying, you've probably seen a movie sometime in your life where they explain, where the timeline splits off into an alternate timeline, where all the events start to take, but that's not how it works. How it really works is when
I hate this conversation so much, by the way. This is so bad. Please go quicker.
It's going somewhere, though. He says when you go back and change history, what you actually do is create a series of multiverses. You don't create an alternate. But then I'm sitting here thinking, now hold on a second. Okay. I thought the multiverse was a Marvel thing, right? The Flash and the Batman, that's a DC thing. So who's biting off of who with the multiverse?
I believe multiverse is the term used by many scientists and other things well before Marvel decided to co-opt the term for their little comic book thing.
All right, so multiverse isn't a unique concept.
No.
Like Jim Ross would say.
No.
Because there's now a multiverse.
No, I think physicists have used the term multiverse for quite a number of years before Marvel did. Impact Wrestling also uses it for their shows too, the multiverse of whatever. So I think a lot of people are using the term right now. It's a fun term, I think, to use. So,
well, that answers my question because I'm thinking to myself, now hold on a second.
Oh, you thought this was like a shot across the bow at Marvel?
Right. Now we're using the same fucking story beats on both sides. We're both utilizing this multiverse deal. Okay, we're being told in the chat that DC had the multiverse decades before Marvel. All right, well, then that answers my question too then. Then fuck Marvel, I said. Because if DC was using this concept first, I think Marvel should stay away from it. Be more creative, right? I mean, you can't just... That's pretty lazy. Like, if DC was doing these multiverses, and then Marvel just decides, oh, well, we're going to do a multiverse too. That's hack. That's hack to me. But that's probably going to make people mad because I think people like the Marvel movies better than the DC movies.
I think that's the case. Yeah, I don't know. I'd honestly rather talk about Roderick Strong's hospital gown than continue this conversation. But go on.
The Justice League Todd Phillips cut or something, where he remade the movie in black and white, like not Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips did Joker, and he did and he did the fucking what's the comedy movies with Zach Galifianakis in Las Vegas.
The Hangover.
Yeah, he did the Hangover movies and Joker. Who's it'll come up in the chat any second now. The guy that did the fucking Snyder. Right, Zack Snyder.
I think that's the name, Zack Snyder. Yeah,
the Snyder cut. Right,
it's nothing that makes me want to see something less than people discussing the Snyder cut.
The Schneider cut.
Shut up.
The only Schneider I know is the wacky neighbor on One Day at a Time. That's the Schneider I know.
I think it's Snyder. I believe it's Snyder. I don't think it's Schneider, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's spelled different, but you're stepping on the bit though. He had the cigarettes rolled into his sleeve, and he was, he'd be canceled today. The character was a little creepy. He would just come busting into the apartment of these three women who lived alone, like whenever he felt like it, Schneider. Yeah, I'm here to fix the toilet. He was never there to fix the toilet. But that's my Schneider, Rich, from One Day at a Time. You want to keep doing comic book talk?
No, I would really not like to do more.
There's
comic
a lot
book
of
talk.
crossover. Yeah. We can do a comic book podcast, me and you, man. We can, as two guys who know nothing about comic books, here's what we can do. We can go to our respective comic shops. I don't even know if I have one in this town.
I got one still hanging around.
We could pick a fucking series, like Submariner, say.
Spawn.
Right?
We can get our Spawn comics and discuss Spawn. Is Spawn still around? I don't know if Spawn's still around.
I gotta tell you, I knew a guy who was a huge Spawn fan about 20 years ago, and he was exactly what you'd think a Spawn
Is he a
fan
serial
was
killer
like.
now? Is he in jail?
Like black leather trenches and too cool for everything. Spawn, I don't have a good relationship with Spawn. But he had all the fucking expensive Spawn toys on the shelf and everything.
Yeah.
And so we can go start with Submariner 1.
I'll go to find Submariner 1, yeah.
Yeah, and we can break it all down,
Great.
And we can,
discuss lore. Discuss lore. That's great.
Yeah, we could get into the multiverse of the Submariner, which, I'm sure he's part of all that, right? That's the other thing I don't like. They'll kill off a character in these things, but they're only dead in that part of the multiverse.
Right.
That's
I
cheating.
grew up in the 90s. Superman died while I was growing up, and I was like, oh my God, they killed Superman. And then, the Death of Superman run ended, and then Superman just came back. And I was like, no, hold on a minute. There's no way.
Yeah, I can't get into that. I can't get into that.
Because I thought it was a big deal. And I remember at my comic shop, everybody was, I remember when it came out, because I would go to the comic shop all the time as a kid. I never really bought anything. I kind of thumbed through things a little bit or whatever here and there. But, I I remember when that came out, it was a big deal, and everybody was talking about it and discussing it. And I'm like, man, that's huge. They're killing Superman. That's like one of the biggest characters of all time. Like, what are they going to do? And then, like, you know, Superman 2000 issue 1 comes out, and then it's like, oh, he's just fucking back.
Now he's just back.
I was like, well, hold on a minute. What was that? The Superman?
It's like people crying real tears in these Marvel movies when they killed off when Spider-Man just dissipates. That scene where he just fucking fades away. And then when they kill off fucking the Iron Man, Tony Stark, people crying real tears in the theater, and it's like,
God,
what the fuck? Then in the next movie, Spider-Man's just there again.
Don't worry. Robert Downey Jr. will be back. About? Don't worry. It's okay.
You know what I mean? Like, they're just going to explain that his spaghetti strand, he's only dead on the one spaghetti strand. Like, he's coming back on the other spaghetti strand. You know?
Joe, I'd rather talk about actual physics and actual multiverses than continue talking about comic book
I gotta
multiverses.
Google and see if we have a comic shop, because we're going to do this. Let me see.
No, we're not.
I mean,
you can do it all you want, man. Knock yourself out. I got Graham Cracker Comics not far from me. I can go anytime. I know where it's at too. I got two in very close to me. So
here we go. BCS Book and Comics. Let me see if they have Submariner 1.
Submariner. We're starting at 1. I think it's from 1934, isn't it? Can you easily access Submariner 1? I'm not sure if you can.
What about let me see, Submariner 1.
I think Submariner 1's probably worth like thousands of dollars, right?
No, here we go. We can get it on eBay for $13,900.
Okay.
Submariner 1.
Yeah, all right.
We won't get two.
Buy it.
We'll just
buy it, please, and then I will pay you back. I promise.
I'll watch it. I'll read it first and then send it to you.
Perfect.
We won't buy. Yeah. See, we'll get around it. We won't buy 2 copies of it. That would be ridiculous, right? So, this one's graded. It's a 9.8, whatever that means.
Oh, that's big. Yeah, that's a good grade. You want to get that one, yeah.
What year is this fucking thing?
I'm saying it's like 1960s. It's got to be in the 60s or something like that.
May of 1968.
Yeah, that's
You know, he looks like the motherfucker from Star Trek. He looks like
Spock. Yeah, he does look like Spock. Yeah,
he looks like a Vulcan. You the high eyebrows and the pointy ears. This Submariner. What about that's too expensive. What about the Superman enemy Solomon Grundy? Maybe we can.
Does he have a multiverse that we can do?
Does he have his own comic book? Solomon Grundy 1.
I feel like probably not, right? There's no way.
No, he's like a 5th tier
Superman
villain. He's, you know, he like emerges from the dirt like he's dead or something. Like he's a zombie, I think. Solomon Grundy. Strong, vicious, and nearly mindless, Solomon Grundy falls into a life of crime, or perhaps return to
this
one.
Feels like the time of year that he should probably start popping up a little bit more, since he's kind of like a zombie type of thing. So yeah.
Who's Solomon Grundy?
Yeah,
you want to do him in October, right?
Right.
Yeah. Solomon Grundy. Wasn't that like a lore character before the Whoop.
Sure. yes, it was. I don't know.
Yeah. Remember the Wizard magazine? Do you remember that?
Of course. Yeah.
I remember in Wizard magazine they would do fantasy casting for movies that weren't even really being made. Like they'd be like, oh, they should do and they would always cast Howard Stern as Scarecrow, the Superman villain Scarecrow, like every time, you know. And they would always cast Vader, the wrestler, as the fucking I can't think of the guy's name now. He's a Marvel character that is shaped like that. Fucking looks like Vader. Maybe someone in the chat will know. Let me pull up this Scarecrow.
I know the guy you're talking about. I don't know what his name is. I know he's a big burly guy. He's like a round. It's not Colossus. If people are thinking, I forget the guy's name. But I know.
It was always Vader was always cast.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember what his fucking name is. So
yeah. Oh, I'm looking at this Scarecrow. I gotta tell you, Howard Stern would make a nice Scarecrow.
Yeah,
I think it would work out. Yeah.
The problem is he would just be Howard Stern, so it wouldn't I don't know if he could act enough to.
You know, he was in fucking Private Parts playing himself.
But he was himself. He was Howard Stern.
Yeah. It looks like him, though. I mean, how much great acting do you need to do to
Juggernaut?
portray
I think
Scarecrow?
Angry 216 has it. Juggernaut, I believe, is who.
That's it.
Yeah, it was who
Juggernaut.
Vader was.
Vader was always cast as Juggernaut. Always. in those gimmicks.
I feel like when I was a kid, I thought I had to like comic books, and I never really did. And then like when I got a little older, I was like, I don't like these anymore, and then I just stopped.
Yeah, I never had them. You know, my
they're expensive, man. That's an expensive hobby to have as a kid. I was blown away by how much it cost to stay up on the latest, haps in the comic world, and I was like, this is kind of dumb. I'm not going to do this.
Did I ever tell you about my shady grandfather?
No, I don't think you did.
So, my grandfather on my father's side, on the Lanza side, he owned a corner store. They call them different things depending where you live. Bodega, corner store, candy store. We called them candy stores in New Jersey. And it was a little luncheonette. You go in there, you buy lottery tickets, you have a breakfast sandwich, you get a candy bar. So anyway, everyone knows this kind of store I'm talking about. What do they call them in Chicago? Just corner store?
I guess corner store. Yeah, convenience store, corner store probably is what you call it.
In New York City, called bodegas.
Yes. And people in New York City think that they're the only place where they exist, and they exist fucking everywhere.
Which is utterly ridiculous.
We got bodegas. You don't know what that's like. Yeah, I do, buddy. we have a lot of stores that sell things on corners. It's okay. You're not the only people on Earth.
And have a short order food orders.
Right. I've been to Europe. Everywhere in Europe has those too. So chill out, New York.
Rich, I have one down the street in College Station, Texas.
You can't go and get a sandwich anywhere else in the world except for New York City. I can. There's one. Yeah, I can walk to one in 6 minutes and get a sandwich from them. So no, calm down. It's okay.
So anyway, my grandfather owned a corner store in New Jersey when I was a little kid, and attached to the same building was a barber shop where my father
a barber shop or a barber shop?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm getting to that. So
barber shop.
So on the weekends, my father would go in, 4:00 in the morning to open the store. You had to be open by 5 or 6 for the breakfast crowd and all that shit, right? And he would bring me, and I loved to go because I had full run of the place, and I would always get baseball cards and candy bars, so it was fucking great. And I was never attracted to the comic books. Like, for whatever reason, I was just never interested in the comic books. I would always go right for the baseball cards and the candy. And then when the store would open, my father would send me next door to the barbershop to get out of his hair. I'd be 5, 6 years old, a little pain in the ass, and there's customers.
A lot hasn't changed. You're much older and you're still a pain in the ass. So
yeah, so he'd send me over to the barbershop where they would keep an eye on me. All my grandfather's old fucking Italian pals in the barbershop. And it wasn't until I was a few years older, like looking back at the memories of that barbershop where they'd play with me and they'd break my balls, and it wasn't until I was like a teenager that it occurred to me that no one ever came in that place for a haircut. Like, the chairs were all covered with plastic. There were no actual barbers in the place.
Yeah. Who was the if somebody wanted to walk in and get a haircut, was any person there capable of providing even a modicum of a haircut?
No, there was no barber. Like, they were just old Italian guys.
No razors.
And nothing. No one ever got a haircut there.
Huh.
Like, the chairs were covered with plastic. But what would occur is other old Italian guys would come in with fucking envelopes and then I'm like, holy shit. I was growing up in a fucking mob movie and I didn't realize it. Like, it didn't occur to me till I was like 15, 16 that like no one was ever getting haircuts, and these kindly old men who I thought were just giving me baseball cards and watching cartoons with me on the little fucking 12-inch black and white TV they had in the corner. These are fucking mob guys, Rich.
Just washing money through a fake barbershop.
Just washing money through a fake barbershop.
Right. Here for my haircut. Here's $18,000 for my haircut. Thank you.
Yeah, coming in for quote-unquote haircuts. And I'm pretty sure I showed you a picture of my grandfather. He looks
I've seen him. Yeah, he is very much. If you close your eyes and think of what does an Italian man from New Jersey look like, in the 1970s, that's that guy. Yeah.
I mean, the stereotype does not. He even had the handlebar mustache like fucking Raleigh Fingers, like fucking Super Mario. That's a better reference, I guess, for our listeners.
Like you said Jade Cargill's like Greta Garbo earlier, so you don't have to say, that's a reference that's going to go over the head of our listeners. You said Jade Cargill's being presented like she's Greta Garbo, so it's I think Raleigh Fingers is okay in this case, since he at least played baseball into the 80s, as opposed to Greta Garbo, who I believe died by the 80s. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Greta Garbo is a very fucking. She's
1990. Greta Garbo died. 1990. Good life for Greta. 84 years old. Good for her.
Yeah, but she's a very elegant star.
Yes.
Much into like Jade Cargill. I think it's a good comp. I'm sorry. But yeah, my grandfather, absolutely looked like a fucking mob guy, but I didn't think he was. And then you learn years later that he owned like half of Rahway, New Jersey. And it's like, oh, okay, it all makes sense that this fucking barbershop was just like you're saying, it's a fucking front. Just washing money. No one ever got a fucking haircut. How this relates to comic books was I was never drawn to the comic books. Like these guys would try to give me comic books, or I never, it was always a baseball card guy more than a comic book
Yeah,
guy.
if I had access to and there was, where I grew up, there was a comic shop, and across the street was a card shop. I'd walk into the comic shop and flip through some stuff and look at some stuff, but the money was being spent across the street at the card shop for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do the Submariner series behind the paywall. Me and Rich. We're going to start with number 1,
Yep.
May 1968.
Yep, Joe, you already bought it, I think, right?
I'm going to look for one a little cheaper than the $13,900.
Yeah. If you can get one for $7,000, I'd say buy it. I'd say if you can get a 7.5 to an 8 grade, I would go for that. I think that's probably okay for us.
Submariner's top? Who's the top heel?
The top heel for Submariner. I don't know, Paul O'Neill or something. I'm not sure who's.
This is. I actually typed into Google Submariner top heel. Like that's going to produce a result. Let me try this again. Submariner
villain
enemy.
Or something like that.
Enemy,
villain. Yeah, something like that.
Submariner villain. Neymar the Submariner, the son of the Atlantean princess and a human, making him a mutant Antlian hybrid. I don't give a fuck. Who are his villains? This is what I want to know. Sumaket?
Sure, yeah.
All right.
Don't want to cross that guy.
Looks boring, to be honest.
I think Submariner's kind of boring. I think that's going to be a problem here.
Well, these water guys are always the pits.
Oh, Aquaman's the worst. It's like all these dudes have such cool powers, and he's like, I can breathe underwater. And they're like, all right, cool.
I did find a think piece. Is Neymar the villain?
Oh, now see, that's what we need to start getting into. That's where we're going to change the game on our Patreon series. Is we're really going to upset the apple cart here, because we have no preconceived notion of who's good and who's bad and whatnot. So we're going to be looking at it from an entirely different angle. All
right,
was Captain America actually bad? Find out. FlagshipPatreon.com, $5 tier. Can't wait to break that down.
Yeah. Are we canceling Neymar?
Right.
I found this is from Marvel.com, so this is probably a good source. If Neymar has an arch villain, it is probably Atuma, a fellow Atlantean and ruthless warlord. He believes himself destined to conquer Atlantis. All right, let me see what that guy looks like. Atuma. Wonder if he's interesting.
Oh, he looks so much cooler than Submariner. I'd be into watching an Atuma.
He doesn't look very watery though. He doesn't have like.
Sure, he does. He looks like he has gills and stuff, man. I don't know. I think he looks kind of watery.
You look at he's like this blue guy, right?
Yeah.
And some of the pictures he has like this yellow lightning type.
Yeah, sometimes he looks more watery, and then other times he doesn't. So I don't know.
You got to get the right artist, right?
Yeah.
These guys all have their favorite artist. These comic fans, right? So you got to get the right artist. He looks like kind of like, who's this Roman Reigns looking guy? I don't know. Yeah, there's Atuma.
Great.
All right. Well, get used to it, Rich. You're gonna be getting a lot more
Flagship Patreon.com. Yeah, once we wrap up Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame season, we'll get right into Submariner, and then our big think piece about is Captain America actually bad? Will be there as well. So, and then we'll get into we'll get into manga, Joe. We'll get into Japanese comics sometime soon.
Well, they're all telling us in the chat that Submariner is in fact the bad guy. So maybe that wasn't such a hot take. So they're all saying, no, that's just obvious. Like he was a villain at points.
This guy has a good idea here. Z says $10 a month and you get the new Submariner podcast. $15 a month, you do not receive the podcast. I like that one. But I think people would like to read. I think people would get into us. Yeah. No.
Isn't manga like the tentacle porn and shit? I'm not reading that.
No.
No thanks.
No, manga's just Japanese. You're thinking of hentai, I believe is what you're talking about.
Oh, hentai.
Right. That would be that would be interesting. I think we could probably.
Girls with their eyes crossed, sticking their tongue out. No thanks. Don't be shit.
Doesn't work for you.
No.
Not your brand. No. Not your brand of pornography.
Why would that work for me? Arigato, it's called, or something. Arigato, or
the face. I don't know what the face is called. Yeah,
that stupid face, like jacking off to a cartoon with their eyes crossed. Like, why would I do that?
That's tough. Yeah, that's
it's a hard scene. I don't think it's. I don't know. Who cares? How do we rope this back into Fastlane?
Well, Fastlane. I forgot about Fastlane. Dude, Fastlane fucking sucked. Move on. Who cares? That boring as fuck show.
No, we gotta do it.
We gotta do it. The end. Boring as fuck. Nothing happening. Fans didn't care. I didn't care. The wrestlers didn't care. Next. All right, let's talk about New Japan.
So Fastlane
which was not Roadblock End of the Line, by the way.
What?
Yeah.
Why do you keep saying that? I don't.
I was told that we said Roadblock End of the Line a couple times, and that in the intro to both shows, which I did hear that the intro in this show does say Roadblock End of the Line, and it is our master cut of us saying Roadblock End of the Line a bunch of times. And then last week we played the same introduction, and apparently also discussed Roadblock End of the Line when we meant to say Fastlane. But
no. Listen,
vroom vroom. We said Fastlane, vroom vroom all the time. I'm positive.
Absolutely. Of it. Yes, we did.
Got the Indy cars on the ramp there.
I'm
some
gonna
B-roll, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Vroom vroom. Let's go, man.
I'm gonna bring this podcast back,
please,
with a serious point, because it's hard to get back on the rails sometimes when you're talking about arigato porn or whatever the fuck it's called. I'm watching this Fastlane pay-per-view with its 5 matches in 3 hours. Number one. One area that I can't even take you seriously. I don't care which company you prefer. You cannot make a real argument that AEW pay-per-views don't blow the fucking door. Like, the gap is so wide in quality between AEW pay-per-views and these WWE pay-per-views that I don't even believe it's worthy of a reasonable debate. These WWE pay-per-views are just shit. And outside of like WrestleMania, where they put all the effort into the presentation of it, right? Or maybe the Royal Rumble, the big ones, I don't even think they try on these things. Because they know they're bought and paid
very blatantly
for.
They did not try. Very blatantly did Fastlane not try.
I mean, this was like not even a good SmackDown, this Fastlane show. You know, they don't even put any effort. It's like a 5-match show. And believe me, you're not getting 35-minute matches. You know, the bell didn't ring on this show for the opener until almost like 16 minutes into the show. What the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we waiting around for? Then every entrance
so long
is like 4 minutes each, right? And then, like, because the fans, they just want to go, oh, at the Cody song. And they want to do the Jey Uso thing. He does his little dance.
The dance.
Whatever it is they say
the dance, yeah.
And then these matches happen. And then the fans just fucking disappear until the next set of entrances. Mm-hmm. They couldn't give a fuck about any of these matches. This crowd was so dead for this show. And it's funny because they sent Pat McAfee out there at one point.
to try to get him going a little, yeah.
Well, no. So he's from, obviously played for the Colts.
Yeah.
Based in Indianapolis. He's wearing the Indianapolis Colts fucking title belt, which, by the way, you can't get a Jacksonville Jaguars one, right?
I believe that is still the case. Yeah. By the way, voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop if you want to get a Indianapolis Colts custom title belt like Pat McAfee had. We are all linked up again with our good friends at World Wrestling Entertainment. Voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop. They have freaking socks, There's an EO of the Sky shirt that's out there. There's some really very, very subtle LA Knight shirts that have giant letters that say, "Let me tell ya," and "yeah" on them. So if you want to buy those, you can buy those. So yeah, plenty of stuff available there at voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop, including those title belts. And I would encourage all of you to buy a title belt of your favorite NFL team. That would be great for us. voicesofwrestling.com/WWE shop if you want to do that.
And let us know you bought one so we can mock you relentlessly.
Yes, please,
forever.
please, yes. Please spend $400 on one of those and then let us know. So
yes.
And buy that Bray belt. I don't know if they're still selling that Bray belt. Those things were like $1,400 or whatever. Please buy more of those. Please, please.
I think they are, because I think all merch money is going to his family.
Okay, well then buy those for sure.
So I think they are still selling his merch and they're giving it to his kids. So anyway, these WWE pay-per-views, they're the shits, man. I mean, and you could tell that they're super low effort. The fans don't care about anything. You know, this Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, so they win the tag team titles from the Judgment Day, and it's all it's all gimmicked up at the end of the match with all this crazy interference and everything. The crowd did get up for that a little bit, and then the bell doesn't ring again until 43 minutes into the show for the next match. It's just utterly ridiculous. And then it's Mysterio and Santos Escobar against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, and they have a mystery partner, but he doesn't come out with them. Which, this drives, if I cared about this company, it would drive you nuts. But it's like, why would their mystery partner wait for them to be on the verge of losing?
Right. I'm going to stay back here. But trust me, I'll come out in a minute, guys. And it's like, all right, when's he coming out?
Yeah,
we're about to lose the match.
I understand the mindset behind it. You want the big pop for Carlito or whatever.
Right.
Carlito. But it doesn't make any sense.
We're pretending Carlito was a megastar. We're doing that thing that I was talking about that WWE is going to have to do over the next couple of years. And I talked about it with Edge. Remember, I talked about it with Edge a couple years ago, where they're going to bring Edge back, pretend that Edge was this massive, gigantic, game-changing star when he never was. He never was. And now we're doing it with Carlito. Because he got a pop in Puerto Rico. He's from Puerto Rico. He's a Cologne. Of course he got a pop. But the worst part about it, Joe, is Carlito came out in Indianapolis and the people went nuts. And it's like, I don't understand this business. Maybe that person was right. I don't understand the business anymore.
They go nuts for the entrances and the entrance themes. And we have someone in the chat, the Shermanator. Wasn't that a character in like American Pie? But anyway, he said he went to Fastlane, and the crowd does get loud when they pop. And he says every match got a "This is awesome" chant at the 15-minute mark, no matter what was happening.
Yes, it did. They all did.
No matter what's happening, they chant "This is awesome" at some point. And he's right, or she, whatever the Shermanator. I assume a he, but he's right. I mean, it's just every match up. It's that time where we chant "This is awesome," even if it's not awesome. And believe me, none of these matches were
None.
Awesome.
Zero were awesome.
This is such a nothing happening show. And it's like AEW does these pay-per-views.
Like fucking Wrestle Dream. It's insane.
They're 4 hours long. The first match is in the ring within like 30 seconds of the show starting. And you're getting wall-to-wall action for the next 4 hours. And like 7 of the matches are 4 stars. Right? And then you get these WWE pay-per-views. There's 5 matches in 3 hours. And they all stink.
Dude, when you fast forward through these shows, I was fast forwarding through the entrances and stuff because that's what I do now in WWE shows because I'm like, I'm good. I'm not going to waste my time. Seth beat Shinsuke, and I'm thinking, okay, I got through this whole show in like, Joe, I'm not kidding. I got through the show in like 70 minutes maybe.
I believe it.
And Seth is celebrating, and he's really milking it. He's like Mystico out there. He's milking it. I'm like, get out of the fucking ring, man. Let's go. We got more matches to go. And then I see the bug, and then my Peacock signs off, and I'm like, oh my God, that was it. They only had 5 matches on this entire show.
They don't even try.
No. I swore there had to be another match. And then I realized, no, I fast forwarded through everything, and this entire show can be watched in probably less than an hour, honestly. I probably gave him more time. I probably at least watched the introductions to the matches. I probably could have just went bell to bell and have this thing done in 50 minutes.
Yeah, you can't even... The difference in quality between AEW pay-per-views and WWE pay-per-views is... I can't even think of the proper words. It's like such a gulf in quality difference between the pay-per-views. And this company just doesn't give a shit. Their fans should be irate that they're fed this garbage. There's nothing happening.
I was reading that. Remember when I was reading the card last week, and I was just like, "Wait a minute, how is this company like just handing it
pay-per-view?
They're handing it to AEW. They're fucking pounding AEW, and this card sucks."
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, then you have Io Sky in the 3-way with Asuka and Charlotte Flair. No one gives a fuck about Io Sky, and why would they? With the way she won the title that we ranted about. Where the psychology was all off. No one gives a shit about these matches until the pre-planned "This is awesome" chant at the 15-minute mark.
By the way, happened in that match. I forget what happened.
I know.
Charlotte did something where she missed by a mile, and then she stood up and went, "Ah!" And then the fans went, "This is awesome." Like 18 fans said it, and I was like, "Is it? I don't think it's that awesome, but okay, knock yourself out." So,
it's just so bad. And then, could John Cena do any less in these matches?
That man could not wait for this strike to end.
You know the meme where the white guy and the black guy are shaking hands, and everyone thinks it's Rocky and Apollo Creed, but I'm not sure that I think it's supposed to be Rocky and Apollo Creed. And people do the meme where they like that meme. John Cena, Togi Makabe, we're not taking any bumps. Like that's the meme I think of when I'm watching John Cena do nothing in these matches with LA Knight as they take on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa.
Not main event Uso, the other Uso, who's not a main event Uso.
Not main event. Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't believe I overlooked that. So he's main event Jey Uso now. Like that's his name.
Yes.
You have to say all 4 words.
Yeah, you have to say main event Jey Uso. He was in the opener in this show, by the way. So that was a little weird when they kept calling him main event Jey Uso, and he was in the opener of this here Fastlane show.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, main event Jey Uso has more of a ring to it than curtain jerker Jey Uso. They're not going to call him curtain jerker Jey Uso. But their fans will eat that shit up, and he'll be main event Jey Uso. Like. He didn't get over it. The SummerSlam match was a disaster. Okay, he didn't feel like a main eventer in that match at all. That was a fucking bomb. But they're determined, so they just say, "All right, well, we'll just fucking call him main event Jey Uso," and these people will eventually.
And he does his little dance. I can't. If you haven't seen the dance, I can't do the dance. Like I'm doing the dance, but you don't know what I'm doing.
Raises his hands.
Yeah,
raises his hand. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now.
You can see it. You're doing it. We're not looking at each other because we don't do video, but we're both doing it. Look it up and yeah, you'll start doing it as well. It's and yeah, he does it and the fans do it and yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. We're told that meme is supposed to be Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers.
Oh,
in Predator,
right. That's right. Yes.
I got one of the actors right, at least, because he was also Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers. I just got, I mixed up Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Great handshake, man. That's when men were men, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's that great scene in Rocky where Rocky and Apollo Creed are racing on the beach with their high socks with the rings on them, and they're running down the fucking beach. Yeah.
Remember when guys used to sweat? Remember when people sweat? Nobody sweats anymore.
Well, you sweat.
I
sweat
sweat.
like a
I
fucking
sweat a lot.
pig.
Yeah, I still sweat.
You're a sweaty man. You are very sweaty. I don't sweat very often.
No, I watch old wrestling, man, and these dudes are just fucking sweating.
They sweat.
They sweat much. Like I was watching a Lex Luger match. It was Stan Hansen and Lex Luger from Halloween Havoc 1990. And like Luger is just a fucking puddle of sweat. And Hansen, every time he's punching him, Luger's just gushing sweat everywhere, doing his Lex Luger selling. Where it's just like head's just sweating all over the place. God, man, remember when everybody used to sweat?
There's nothing like a WCW chop and then sweat.
Right, guys don't sweat anymore, man. How much sweat? Seth Rollins wasn't sweating. You know what I mean? Like these guys don't sweat anymore, man. I don't like it.
No. Main event Jey Uso.
T-shirt. Rocking the T-shirt the whole match too. That's
I didn't watch it, but I am told that he may have been a bit inebriated at the presser.
A bit is putting it lightly. He was quite inebriated, and just hopefully he didn't get behind the wheel of a car. Like yeah, well,
he couldn't have really been drunk. Why would they send him out like that? Everyone knows a guy who always appears to be drunk, but that's just how they are. No, could that be the situation?
No, him
here?
and Cody, I don't know what they were. Maybe it wasn't drunk. Maybe it was other drugs of choice. But those men were they're having a blast at this presser, and they were on the opener. They had plenty of time, Joe. They had 3 hours to enjoy themselves before they had to go up on this post show. So I don't know.
Don't you have that friend that behaves like they're drunk, but they're just goofy? Like,
no, I don't think so. Do I? Maybe I did at one point during the show. That's possible.
Maybe not at this stage in your life.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I have a lot less friends than I did when we started this show. As you get old, man, you just lose. You got nothing, man.
Those friends drop off.
I got five friends that I'm still friends with. You know what I mean? Everybody else is.
Oh God, then you have a lot of friends.
Yeah, no, I know. I already have a lot more. But at that time there was because you have You never, I'm sure you sort of experienced, even though you didn't drink, you sort of experienced drinking buddies. When you were 22, there were dudes that you hung out with because you guys like to go out and stuff. But then as you start going out, you're like, I don't really have anything in common with this guy. We just,
Right. Just someone I go out with.
Right. So yeah, a lot of those guys have since. So I don't know who I even mentioned on the show in prior. It sounds about right though.
Yeah, it's you have friends that maybe, like you're saying, drinking buddies, or got friends you chase girls with, and then people get married. People just fucking disappear. They start taking their life serious. Friends just drop off.
Right. At this point, all the friends I have all like wrestling, because I'm just well, I still need to keep all my wrestling friends. So it's everybody that doesn't like wrestling is gone, and all the people that still like wrestling, they're still there. So.
Well, maybe he's just the goofy guy that always
Well, Cody then was playing the goofy guy as well. There was two goofy guys that were.
So Cody was drunk too.
I don't know if they were drunk or what was going on, but they were. They were enjoying themselves. They were having quite the time.
Could they be maybe a little bit of gummy, like Chris Mad Dog Russo, or different kind of goofy?
No, it was potentially that kind of goofy. I don't know how those guys act when they're, because people act different ways. Sure. But no, something. Something was going on. Z has a good point. Did Cody put a little something in his American Rebel cigar that he had after the match? It's possible. Hey. It's possible he cut a little slice of that American Rebel cigar and threw something in there and had himself a good night. So I don't know.
Rich, did your American Rebel cigars ever show up?
Still haven't showed up, Cody. Still waiting to buy the. Still waiting. Yeah, one of these days.
The mail's a little slow sometimes.
Yeah. Stuff gets lost in the mail all the time. So
it was 6 years ago, but you never know. You never know. Where the fuck were we? Oh, yeah. So John Cena and L.A. Knight defeat. I got to tell you, I don't remember shit about that match other than John Cena.
Do you remember anything about Fastlane? Nothing.
So I remember stuff about the other matches, but that match, I don't remember
nothing.
anything.
Yeah, I know nothing about
it's
that.
It's just a nothing match. And then Rollins Nakamura, they didn't overdo the 10 counts. I will say that.
They did. I will give them that. They did not.
But it was so boring. It was just fucking boring. You know what I've had enough of, Rich? I don't want to hear another peep about Seth Rollins being the best wrestler.
That's got to be over. Stop comparing this guy to Will Ospreay. Stop comparing this guy to Kenny Omega. Stop. It's over. It's done. Knockout. TKO.
He just wears the great matches. He never has great matches.
For a great wrestler, he rarely has great matches. That is interesting, isn't it?
This is it. They're just marching around the building, putting you to sleep. Then that bump on the mattress.
Oh, can I talk about the bump on the mattress?
Please.
The absolute state of the dorks all across the internet going, that's good. I don't want these guys to get hurt when they're wrestling. Okay, dude, great. Get your little back pats on Twitter and it's good that the guys aren't getting hurt when they're wrestling. That's so much better than people getting hurt. Okay, great. You know what you could also do is not do a spot where you're going to get hurt. If you don't want to take a bump, that's okay. You don't have to take a bump. But if you're going to take a bump, take a fucking bump. If you take a 5-foot fall onto a mattress, I'm sorry. That shit sucks. That's garbage. That's not what this thing is supposed to be. That's not what this pseudo sport is supposed to be. Come on. What are we doing? It's ridiculous. People, I know why they do it, because you get the back pats. Because if you say this shit's stupid, people are going to say, you want wrestlers to get hurt? You want this guy to not be able to walk? It's what are we doing then, man? You know what I mean? If you can't take that bump 5 feet off the ground, then don't take the bump. There's several other things you could do in a match that's not taking a bump, but taking a bump from 5 feet away and dropping onto a mattress that was visible on camera that made the crowd not react to it because they all saw it sucked. Stupid. It just, I thought that was garbage. And yeah, just the reaction from people in the aftermath of being like, that's good. I want more wrestlers to do this. It's like, great. Then, you know what? Line the entire fucking ring with mattresses. Just make the ring double padding. The whole side of the ring could be mattresses. It'll be fucking slam ball. Everybody will just land on a mattress or a trampoline or whatever. And we'll nobody will ever get hurt. We're good. Great. Sucks.
Just looks dumb.
It looks so dumb, and it looked dumb on camera, and then the fans didn't react, and then they because WWE doesn't do blood, but they wanted us to look like a bloody battle. They had Shinsuke Nakamura spray red mist into Seth Rollins' face. So if you saw pictures of Rollins with the crimson mask, you might think, oh my God, what a war they had. Well, they didn't do shit for 25 minutes, and then Shinsuke spit in his face and made it red, and then he went through a table, a WWE branded announcer's table. Fuck this match. Sucked.
Fuck this match. Do you think Seth Rollins is just like a WWE fan's idea of a great wrestler? Is that what's happening here?
I think so.
Because I can kind of see why they would think he's a great wrestler. Because, you know, I watch everything and I do the monthly roundup thing, and there's not that many WWE main roster matches that I have. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if Seth Rollins even has one. I'd have to go back and look. This guy never has great matches. But I think, like, he is their idealistic version of what they can consider a great wrestler in comparison to what other wrestling fan, because he, on paper, at least, he works a similar style to these other guys who are considered great wrestlers. So
right, he does springboards sometimes. He'll bounce off the ropes sometimes. He looks like he moves very fluid. He moves like a guy that's a good worker. I get that.
Yeah,
but he isn't.
But yeah, he is. He doesn't have great matches. That's the thing. Like, what are the great Seth Rollins matches this year? What are they?
It's not the two Shinsuke matches, I'll tell you that. Wasn't any of those Shinsuke Nakamura matches.
What are the great matches? Tell me what his great matches are.
It wasn't that Braun Breaker match from a couple of months ago. No, it wasn't that one.
Because the Cody matches were last year.
Yes.
And you didn't even like those.
I didn't like them as much as you did, no. I liked the Logan Paul match a lot. That one was good.
All right.
WrestleMania Saturday. I don't know what day of WrestleMania it was. This year's WrestleMania, one of the two nights of WrestleMania. I don't fucking remember which one. That match was good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watch all these PLEs, and I'll be honest, Joe, not many others coming to mind.
Do you think... Here's the thing about Seth Rollins. Will Ospreay has more great matches in a G1 than Seth Rollins ever has in an entire calendar year. Is that even unfair? No.
Seth Rollins or Will Ospreay in a given weekend sometimes will have more good matches. But yeah, in a G1, it's a TKO at that point in terms of the great matches he's going to have compared to. No, fucking no brainer.
Do you think the people saying that Seth Rollins is the best wrestler in the world are even watching wrestling outside of WWE?
No, they're not.
So that's kind of what this boils down to.
Yeah, of course not.
Here's the WWE.
You think they're watching Fuminori Abe and Nomura from the, no. God, no.
All right. I mean, they've got Gunther right there. They've got Ilya Dragunov right there. There's other options. But for some reason, it's Seth that they go with.
Right. Because he looks like the platonic idea of what a good wrestler looks like. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, no one thinks that Nakamura match was great, right? Not even the hardcore. I don't see that.
I don't know. I didn't see any buzz about that. No, but dear God,
so he's had 2 straight matches with Nakamura that were just like TV matches. Mm-hmm. Well, this one wasn't really. I can't call this one a TV match because it was plunder and it was all over the building, but it just wasn't good. Well, it was good. It just wasn't great. I can't say it was a bad match. It was a good match. It was like a 3.5-star match or something.
People do overrate Rollins stuff. Those people that really love Rollins and really loved, like, because remember when he did that gauntlet match and people were like, that's one of the best things I've ever seen in wrestling. I watched it. It's like 3 mediocre matches back to back to back. And it's like, okay, you guys should really watch more wrestling. I don't mean to be that like gatekeepy, but like if you like this, you should really watch more wrestling. You might really like what you see all across the world. There's a lot of really good stuff going on across the world. Like you should maybe expand your horizons if this is, something you enjoy. This is a hobby you enjoy, but it's easier just to say, Seth Rollins, GOAT, fire emoji, and then just move on with your life. It's just a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, all right. I think I'm done with Fastlane. I'm annoyed now.
Stupid show.
You didn't want to do it, period, but
it's just no effort. Fucking low effort as fuck. Yeah.
Very low effort.
I just thought I was going to give them the amount of effort that they gave us, which was next to none. So that's.
Yeah. Well, what's the next big PLE? Is it Survivor Series already?
I don't know if we have one in between. I think that you're probably right. Yeah. There's got to be one in October, right? Oh yeah, Crown Jewel. No, we have Crown Jewel, Joe, in early November from the the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Wouldn't it be something else if Punk worked that one after telling Miz to suck a blood money covered dick?
Look in my eyes.
Right?
It's clobbering time.
Yes. Yeah, pointing at his wrist.
Right. Riyadh.
Yes. It's clobbering time in Riyadh. Yes.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
That would be fantastic. But
look in my eyes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Clarence.
Tap the wrist. Yeah.
Those guys mulling around, those fucking
the kings or whatever. Yeah, they're all like clearly
the princes
royalty.
Mulling around.
Yeah.
All looking at their phones. They don't give a shit.
No.
Remember that one where they had the couches at ringside?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, they're just literally sitting on the
around looking at their phones.
On their phones, probably trading commodities worth like billions of dollars in the background. You know what I mean? Like
cutting deals.
Right.
Selling some fossil fuels, right?
Yeah.
Fucking paying no attention to like fucking New Day or whatever the fuck. Man.
Crown Jewel. The best shows. Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, with the fake Yokozuna.
Get us Yokozuna. Well,
he's dead. Well, we still want him.
Well, we'll try our best.
Well, isn't this a pickle? How do we get out of this mess?
Right.
Well, they found a guy.
They got a guy. They got a Yokozuna. They didn't say it was going to be the Yokozuna. So
I don't know where he's been since, but they fucking found a guy.
All right, I'm done with Fastlane.
Wasn't that the Bury Me Softly brother show? Where it was Miro and Undertaker in a casket match, and Miro tweeted out "Bury Me Softly, brother." Wasn't that the same show?
That
was the Bury Me Softly brother show. I think it was.
I think you're right. Yeah.
One of those early ones.
They've kind of all blended together for me at this point. I'm looking at a past one. At one point, AJ Styles and Humberto Carrillo at a match. I'm sure the oil tycoons really love that one. Yeah, they're probably on the edge of their seat for the Humberto versus AJ Styles match. So yeah, great.
Well, speaking of lousy main events, Destruction in Ryogoku 2023, 5,002 people in Sumo Hall for this one. As Sonata retains, I was pulling for Evil. Apparently, this was a lumberjack match, which either we weren't aware of last week or they just decided on the fly.
I think it was, but match. I don't really care, to be honest.
I mean, why not? Just make all of Evil's matches lumberjack matches and cut out the pretense, right? Let's just do this for all of his bouts. But
right, the New Japan office honestly should do that, considering how this guy operates and what he does in his matches. They should be smart enough to say, actually, sir, we are no longer going to stand for this shit, and there will be lumberjacks in all of your matches moving forward.
That's right. But yeah, it sucked. It was as shitty as I thought it would be, and Sonata is just not an exciting or interesting champion at all. What do you think?
I'm with you. Yeah, crowd really doesn't give a shit about Sonata at all, as per usual. He bores me to tears, as per usual. Evil, I wasn't really expecting Evil to be the guy that would turn the Sonata title reign around, and he did not. They had a 28-minute match. I thought it was boring as all fuck, and it was over. And I'm counting the days down to the old Tokyo Dome when hopefully Naito...
he's going through all his old pals,
Yeah.
and now he's got to go through his final old pal.
Great.
Naito. I am less interested. This is the least interested I've been in a Wrestle Kingdom ever since we've been doing this show.
Yeah,
There's
I'm probably
no doubt
there
about
too.
that.
Yeah, I'm back kind of out on New Japan. I was in for a little bit. I think I'm kind of out again.
You were in.
I'm out again, man. I thought this show was boring as fuck all around.
This was a very boring show.
Okay, so I'm not alone. It wasn't just me being like, I'm not vibing with this. I thought it was boring as shit. Okay.
Nobody liked this. No one liked this show. Did anyone like this show?
I don't know.
It's a very boring show. I mean, there was just nothing happening on this show. I would say that, okay, if you're looking for positives, I love this Okada, Ishii, Tanahashi team. I don't think that match was great, but the match was a lot of fun. And I hope they hold those titles forever. I love that team. I love the random teams that they face.
That was my match of the night. I like that match better than any other match on the, because that was at least a match where everybody brought effort. Everybody brought their A game, and I appreciate that.
Well, there's no notebook matches on this show. You know what I thought over-delivered to some degree was Tama Tonga and David Finlay.
Yeah, over-delivered is a good way to put it. I can't say it was good or great, but I do think I thought it was going to be the drizzling shits, and it wasn't. It was actually pretty okay. Yeah.
I thought it was like 3.5, somewhere like that. And I was surprised by the title change, honestly. But now I guess it makes sense why they went back to that match when we were like, isn't this over? You know, but then they did another title switch. So, and then I thought there were two other matches that were kind of interesting. The Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney match versus Kevin Knight and Kushida. Again, a good match, maybe like 3.25 or something. Kushida's fucking done.
No, like he's toast. Yeah, he's fuking toast.
They don't book him. Like they don't even bother booking him half the time. That one tournament, like he just lost all his matches.
Super Juniors, right? Are you talking about the Super Juniors? He came in and we thought they were telling a story with him, and I guess the story was
this was an also ran
right.
You know, he was teaming with Kevin Knight before he got elevated. So like he in that tournament that one year he finished in like last place too, I think, or something like that. But they just don't give a fuck about Kushida anymore. And I do think it has something to do with when he left the first time, where he put up that massive stink about wanting to be a heavyweight, and they didn't want to make him a heavyweight, and he left. And it's almost feels like, all right, we'll take you back, but you're not getting your spot back. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, he's probably a freelancer, right? I doubt he's even under contract because he doesn't work the tours, and half the time you forget that he's even around. And then when he pops up, he just loses all the time. So, I don't know. The match was okay. And then the three-way was, okay. But again, it underwhelmed.
It was
sure.
okay. I mean, Hiromu was out there talking a big game about how he's revolutionizing the three-way match or something. And then they just had a boilerplate three-way match that you've seen 1,000 times. I mean, that match could have existed on any show in any country across the world. That, you know what I mean? Like, it was just your standard. I don't know. I mean, there was that three. I don't know. I was tremendously disappointed by that three-way match. I thought that was bad. I really, considering the guys that were involved in there, stinks obviously, but Bailey and Hiromu, I have higher hopes for those guys, and they just did not deliver at all. It was just a match, and it's. I feel like you can't have just a match with these kind of guys in there. But
I really don't want to see three-ways in New Japan.
No.
It's always weird. It's always a weird, and with this denim look.
Bad.
I don't want to go full Melissa Rivers on the red carpet here, but I can't get into Yo and his mismatched denim, like the denim patch look. Like, it's a bad look. He comes across like some shitty like DDT undercard wrestler or something. But and then that match was okay, and the rest of this card was just, it's just junk. You know, you couldn't really get into any of it. That best of 7 series, I only saw 2 or 3 matches, including this one. What a drag that was. I mean,
yeah, that had the potential to be a lot of fun, and they ended up making it not that fun. Yeah, I watched.
No energy.
I think 3 of them I
juice.
saw. I think I saw 3 of them, and I think I liked this one the best, which is saying a lot because it was not that good.
And they did what you said they would do, and I said they wouldn't, which is just do the 3-3 tie.
Right. And then everybody stand around in the middle of the ring afterwards going, did we settle anything? And everybody going, no, not really. And then just kind of like haphazardly shake hands,
Mulling
and
around.
then everybody kind of left the ring, and then you're like, all right, well, that was a waste of a couple weeks. So great. So 3-3. Dead even.
I talked about this on Wednesday behind the paywall, but I think I'm done on Minoru Suzuki. I think I'm done.
Yeah, the shtick is.
It's not interesting anymore.
No, he can go and get paid by local, like, independent. If you want to book him for your indie show and have him come out and make funny faces and chop a guy a couple times, great. But I'm done watching it.
And sing the song and everything. I get it.
Does the little claps, does the claps, sing the song, chop a little bit, make funny faces. I think I'm over it. Yeah, I'm done.
The presence is there. I understand. But I have seen it enough. I'm done with it. Okay? I've seen him live a million times. This guy's 55 years old. Do I expect him to show up in, where was it? Stockton, the Eddie Kingston match? Stockton, California, right?
Stockton, California, yep.
Do I expect a 55-year-old Minoru Suzuki to show up in Stockton, California and try to have a fucking 5-star match with Eddie Kingston in an 8-minute YouTube match? I do not. So I don't even blame the guy. He goes out there. He does his shtick. People sing the song. He does his chops. He's in and out in 6 minutes. I don't blame him. Like, I'm not mad
No,
at
it's a
him.
great gig. No, it's a great gig if you can get it.
I'm just over him. It's over. And I love the guy, but it's over.
Yeah, I still get excited when I see him on a poster, and I don't know why. And I gotta stop doing that because it just never actually clicks. And I've seen him live a couple times over the last couple of years, and every time I'm like, man, here we go. And like sometimes I'll be there with people that have never seen him before, and I feel bad because I'm hyping them up like a big time deal or whatever, and then the match is over, and I can tell my friends are like, it was all right, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, you don't. Because if you don't know who he is and he just comes out, because I had a friend the other day that I went to a show with, and he was there live, and his friend doesn't really watch wrestling. He watches it, very, very casually or whatever. And when it was all over, like he thought he was funny, but he was just like, I don't know, it's kind of old guy. I don't know. It's just like when you have no frame of reference for what this guy is, it's just like, yeah, I get it. It's just kind of, and I'm done. I'm over it too. I've.
It's not he doesn't come across quite as menacing anymore.
No.
Look, he's 55 years old.
He comes across old. Like I said, my buddy, the first thing he said was like, that guy just looks really, really old. And I'm like, well, he's almost 60, so you're not wrong. I mean, he is really, really old.
So is this going to be a guy where a certain segment of fans pretend that he's still good, like they do like Yoshiaki Fujiwara? Like, is that what we're headed towards with him? Because I feel like there's going to be a certain segment of fans who just can't just say, okay, we're done here. He's old. He doesn't have the same menacing aura. He's not putting in the same effort. He's old. I feel like this is the next guy in that chain. Because Fujiwara a few years ago was still wrestling at like the age of 68, 69, 70. Looked like fucking shit. It looked like every step that man took, he was about to turn to dust. Like, it was just awful. It breaks your kayfabe. You can't, like, there's no suspension of disbelief.
Right, guys have to sell for him and stuff.
Guys have to sell for that fucking horse shit. It looks like his skin is melting off of his body. Like, it's just horrible to watch. Like, Dory Funk Jr., when he would come to All Japan in, like, 2016 and get in there and, like, guys would have to pretend to sell. Like, is that what we're headed towards with Minoru Suzuki? Like, he's not that bad yet. But it's the kind of thing that drives you nuts where people just can't admit, look, the guy was great for a long time.
Right. It doesn't invalidate your entire childhood. Yeah.
Nothing.
It's okay to say that. It's all right.
Right. Like trotting these guys out there, to me, it's just sad. So anyway, it's just 5 guys again. Yuya Uemura, as we all kind of suspected. It's a good fit, right?
Yeah, he looks good. I guess he's a good fit. Sure.
Wow, you're really down on this. You're down on all this.
I'm not vibing with a lot going on in New Japan right now. I don't know what it is.
This wasn't a good show. I can't kill you.
I just don't love it's probably Sonata. It's probably the main
Sonata.
It's the main title. I don't care. I also don't really care about a lot of the units. Like, I don't know. Just 5 guys doesn't really. I like Yuya, so that makes me a little more excited. I don't know. I just can't get into House of Torture. I cannot stand House of Torture. They added Kanemaru, so finally they have a good worker in the House of Torture, so that's good, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah. Look, this wasn't a good show, so I understand it from that standpoint. But any other big takeaways I'm missing? That Tangaloa Chase Owens match. Ugh.
God.
Why? Like, I still don't understand why. Like,
why did we need that? Who wanted that? Who asked for that match?
Yeah, what was the point?
No,
I'm like, all right, maybe they'll do an angle, right? Were you thinking that or not even thinking that? I'm like, maybe
no, I was thinking these guys are going to have a fucking boring ass match and then it's going to be over. And then I'm going to go, fuck, why did I have to watch that? And they had a fucking boring match and it was over. And I said, why did I have to watch that?
I don't know how I feel about having like the strong tag team titles on these shows either. Like, I don't know. It's a lot of tag team titles.
There's a lot of titles, and not many of them mean anything right now. I think that's probably the biggest issue I have with the company.
And I'm usually not that guy, but a lot of times on these New Japan shows, guys will come out with tag team titles, and I have to stop and think, which set of tag team titles are these? You know what I mean?
It was this show exactly when the Guerrillas of Death, or when the War Dogs came out, I was like, what the fuck? I don't even remember what title these guys have. Do they have no, they have the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team, because I was thinking they're not the main tag title holders, all right? Like, and in my brain, I'm like, weird. I'm like, I can't keep track of them anymore, and I don't know if that's like probably a me thing because I'm not as engaged with New Japan right now, but I don't know. There's a lot of tag team. I mean, this show had like 4 different sets of tag team titles.
Rich, I watched the whole fucking tour, and it's not just you. Like, a lot of times these tag team champions come out and it takes me a second.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't. I should be like, oh, okay, those are the junior tag team or whatever the fuck. Anything else on the destruction in Ryogoku 2022?
I know that's not how you pronounce it, but I'm sure they're going to get upset.
It's hard to get it's hard to get into a review of the show because there was nothing happening.
Yeah, and it was like the video file was like 5 hours and 15 minutes, and I was like,
oh my god, I saw that too, and I was like, kill me. But it wasn't like
no, there was a lot of dead space in it, which was good because I clicked play and I was like, oh no.
Well, because we had to have look, we got to drag out Muto, of course. So Sonata wins with the fucking Shining Wizard.
Right. Oh, the worst part. Yeah, we gotta have
Muto get in there because that's Muto's boy. You know what I mean? So, we have to do all that again. That's another guy I've had enough of. I can live. I think the Undertaker and Keiji Muto should just fucking get on their motorcycles and drive off a cliff and leave me alone. How about that?
Oh, you don't want the Pro Vampire to suck the blood of another promotion? Come on.
I've had enough of the Undertaker. I've had enough of Keiji Muto. I'm not like this big nostalgia guy. I'm done with these people.
Well, here's the thing with the older guys is that you can watch their matches in their primes and enjoy them still to this day. You don't have to watch them when they're like broken down husks of themselves, slowly walking to the ring with a limp. Like, you could just go, hey, Great Muta, he was really fun. I liked Great Muta a lot in 1992, and that's okay. You could just do that, and it's okay. You could just, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
so anyway, he got the endorsement from his mentor, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And now we go into a Wrestle Kingdom main event that I am struggling to care about. Look, the LIJ fans are going to be into it, I'm sure. A lot of story there, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I cannot possibly care.
My only concern is get the title off of this fucking dry-ass charismaless void. Let's just, it's time to abort this mission. Just, I'm Team Naito here. Let's Stardust press this fucking geek and pin him in the middle of the ring. And why did I say Stardust? Let's Destino this geek in the middle of the ring.
Maybe he'll do the Stardust. Yeah, why not? Do the Stardust press. Really lay it into the guy. He might. He probably will.
Maybe he'll give him the Shining Wizard, and we'll drag Muto out there again to. You know what? As long as we get the title off Sonata, I'll take it. Anything to get the title off of this fucking guy. Because I think you're right. I think he's affecting the entire tone of the promotion at this point. So,
well, like I said, it was a big adjustment. Like I said, when he first got the title, as I said, we're all going to have to get used to this thing where what for almost the entire time that most people listening to this show have been watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, the title has been on a guy that you were guaranteed, no matter what else was on the show, that you were probably going to get a good fucking match in the main event. You know what I mean? Like, you had the Evil run. That wasn't good. Pretty much every other time other than that, you were guaranteed from Tanahashi to Kojima to Okada to Styles to Ospreay to Shingo to Naito to all those dudes. You were pretty much guaranteed that when that match was going to hit the ring, you were going to get something good. You don't have that anymore. So if the rest of the undercard underwhelms, you're looking at like, fuck, now I got a 30-minute Sonata match to watch. And it stinks. It's just not. He's terrible. So
I got good news. Taiji Ishimori's back. We forgot about that.
Yeah. I forgot about it for sure. Yeah, I'm supposed to get excited about Taiji Ishimori and Hiromu again. Great. All right. I can't wait. Let's see if
he's going to be the Wrestle Kingdom match again. I guess, right?
I think they're doing it sooner than that. Maybe.
Is there another show? I
thought they were doing
Power Struggle or something.
I thought they were doing it before that, but I could be wrong. Yes, Power Struggle.
Well, they have to
Power Struggle.
Yeah,
You're getting
Power Struggle is on
November 4th. November 4th. You have
is the final of the Super Junior Tag League.
Yes.
And Power Struggle, right?
Right.
So that's where they're doing the junior title match. So it's the junior title match. The 6-man challengers are TMDK with Zack Sabre Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're getting Naito and Yota Tsuji versus Sonata and Yuya Uemura, which actually is an interesting match.
That's going to be a great match because 3 people are going to be charisma dynamos and blow off the screen, and then the other guy will be Sonata. It's another great example of like, yeah, maybe let's push somebody else other than that guy when everybody else is
talk about, well, we should talk, listen, Yuya Uemura, nothing but rave reviews from anyone he worked with in the United States, you know, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school, but he got booked in Inspire a couple because Biss loves booking these excursion guys. He loves it. He loves taking advantage of that. He couldn't stop bragging about what a professional that and how great this guy was in the locker room and what a hard worker he was and great. I at some point I'm tapping out. I'm like, Biss, enough. I mean, you know, enough with the he could not stop bragging about how great of a guy this is to have in your locker room and what a star he's going to be. And if you listen to what comes out of Impact, it's the same thing. So there's something special with this guy. And he made a great impression when he was here in America. And the other thing is funny is how many times did I have to come on this show and reassure people that he was never leaving New Japan? How many times did I have to do that? So finally, maybe people can stop with, now that he's officially back. He just liked fucking with people on Twitter. He's just a guy that he liked doing that. You know, the whole, you know, he would be like, oh, I don't know, New Japan doesn't want me, or, you know, Impact is my home. And
you're right, yeah. At Impact Wrestling, book me at, he did that like a week ago. He said open for bookings in the US at Yuya and at Gmail or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I had to constantly reassure people on this show that, because I would ask.
He got me even. He got me. You told me for months and months and months and months, and I forget there was something that he did. And I'm like, I don't know, Joe. I think this guy's done. It was like, I forget what he did, but he got me even. He got me.
He's a worker.
Yeah.
He's a worker, you know? And every time I would ask, and every time I keep getting the same answers. No, he's with New Japan. You know, it's he'll be back at some point. So they weren't going to let him like slip through their fingers. You know, it's there's going to be big plans for him, but you know, that'll be Power Struggle. But before that, we have the Royal Quest. That is this weekend. So Copper Box. How are tickets for
on
that?
RevPro on demand for that show as well.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. You can watch it. Yeah, live. I think a lot of people forgot to cancel their subs from the show on All In weekend. So if you were one of those people, you know, you're going to get to watch this show either live or on demand. I sub to them anyway, but Taiji Ishimori versus Robbie X, El Desperado versus Trent Seven. That's a weird match. Yota Tsuji versus Luke Jacobs.
Whew. I'm
Circle
ready for that one. Ready for that one, man.
Yeah. Connors and Maloney versus Cameron Kai and Leon Slater. Circle that one.
Yeah, Cameron Kai, also like 18 or 19. Leon Slater just turned 19. We've talked about him many times on the show. That's one to definitely watch.
Good.
Yeah.
Stupid good. A lot of story there, too, with Maloney and Slater and all that. Phantasmo, Tamatanga, and Tangaloa versus Coughlin, Finley, and Kidd. Ren Narita and Shota Umino versus Francisco Akira and the Great Okan. That's the Great Okan in Rev Pro. Always an extra interesting dynamic there. Bushi and Tetsuya Naito versus Dookie and Sonata. Eddie Kingston, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Michael Oku versus Hanare, Jeff Cobb, and TJP. All right. Tomohiro Ishii versus Shingo. You know, you can always count on old Andy to give you some fucking work rate masturbatory stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yota Tsuji and Luke Jacobs, Ishii and Shingo. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Perfect stuff.
You know, Quilden, one of us.
Yep.
You know, he'll throw the bones. He'll throw us some bones. I like that guy. And then, of course, Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. So we see how many tickets they sell for that. We can compare that to what the last time they were there. We can compare it to Rev Pro a couple months ago. But that's an interesting looking show. There's some filler in there that I don't particularly have any use for, but plenty of good stuff too. So that's the Royal Quest. Are we done here? We got a couple minutes. What are we doing?
We got a couple minutes. Let's talk about the Observer Hall of Fame real quick. We got about 4 minutes here. So let's we are doing the usual on this on our Patreon. We always do Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame audio, and this year will be no exception to that. It'll all be on our $5 tier, by the way. It's easier as well to, with our collections that we talked about before on Patreon, it's easier to find the archives of the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame coverage. But we are going to do it as we always do. We like to do not only, I did the introduction and the primer to kind of get you ready for the Hall of Fame, everybody that's eligible, some of the new rules. So go listen to that episode. It's about 25 minutes, just kind of get you up to speed on what's going on with the Hall of Fame, the criteria, if it's your first time, all that other stuff. A lot of rule changes. Yeah, a lot of rule changes that are going to be important here. And I also do my normal plea that I do all the time, that if you're listening to this and you go, I don't care about Dave Meltzer, I don't care about the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, who cares? Our audio, you don't have to give a shit about Dave Meltzer or the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame or who voted for who. At the end of the day, it's going to be multiple hours of us talking about great wrestlers. Us and special guests talking about great wrestlers. Us and special guests talking about great wrestling stories. That's what it's going to be. So if you like wrestling, you like wrestling history, listen to those shows. You don't have to give a shit about the Hall of Fame. It's all about talking about some of the best wrestlers of all time. And boy, do we do that. We have a show in the can that will be released, hopefully, by the time most of you guys listen to this, probably 3 p.m. Central Time on our Patreon. Roy Lucier joined Joe and I to talk about the Mexico region and also just talk about everything that he's done in terms of archiving wrestling, some incredible stories that Roy gave us, just some all-time great stories. You and I, we both got off the line with Roy and at the exact same time messaged each other with some combination of that rocked, this rocked, holy shit, that was awesome. Like some combination of that came out of our, like at the exact same time. That was one of those ones where when I hit like end call, I was pumping my fist. Like that was good audio, man. That's one of the best things I think we have ever done. That's kicking off our coverage this year, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. So that's all going to be available at flagshippatreon.com.
Like the Hall of Fame shows,
it's so good.
If you like the Hall of Fame shows, you're going to learn something with that one. And he was a great guest. He's knowledgeable. He told really fun stories. Sometimes you get a guest and you kind of have to work them into, they're a little shy or they're not used to doing audio or they don't understand necessarily. Maybe they're not listeners. So they don't understand. And it sometimes it takes a little while for them to settle in. He understood the deal and he was very good. And you're going to learn something, the knowledge, the enthusiasm. The guy just loves wrestling. And, great conversations, not just about the Hall of Fame candidates, but, his crazy stories about his collection of videotapes and how he acquired them and his relationship with Mike Tenay and his relationship with certain wrestlers. I don't want to give any of it away. It's just a really great, almost 2 hours of audio on the Mexico region of the Hall of Fame. It's a really, you will learn something. Especially if you love the Hall of Fame audio to begin with. We really got off to a great start, and everyone we have booked so far is a first-time guest.
Mm-hmm.
So We might not ultimately end up with all first-time guests, but everyone so far that we have booked is a first-time guest. So the Hall of Fame, we don't like it. We do it every year, so you have to be careful about it being redundant. So we do like to rotate people so you're not getting the same opinions all the time. And it's going to be at least 3 new guests this year, including Roy, who was fantastic.
Yeah, just really, really great audio and great stories. And yeah, just a tremendous show. And Roy is so much more important than the people that know. And there's probably people nodding along as we're talking about Roy and going, yeah, Roy's the best. Roy's incredible. Roy is a big reason why we can all watch a lot of the wrestling that we watch. There are a lot of people that probably don't know how important he is, and you might consume his content without even knowing it. You might be watching stuff all the time because of Roy that you don't even know about it. This episode is a great way to kind of understand just how much he's done for the world of wrestling history and wrestling archiving and just more in that the care and the passion that you're going to get. And that's from all the guests that we have so far. I know all these people. I've talked to all these people before, not about Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, but about wrestling. This is a passionate crew of people that I am very excited to talk to each and every one of these people about the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. And again, it does not matter about the Hall of Fame itself is the backdrop for what we're going to talk about. At the end of the day, we're just going to talk about a lot of really, really great wrestlers and great stories and great matches and all those sort of things. So it's some people hate this audio. I know most people love it. Some people hate it, but I really do think it's some of the best stuff that we do on our Patreon. So it'll be well worth the $5 over the next month to get in and listen to the Observer Hall of Fame audio. But yeah, that'll be $5 tier, flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, or voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon for all of those. But yeah, by the time most of you guys listen to this, yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of Lucha, real quick before we end this, how about Mystico versus Rocky Romero?
Fucking awesome. Tone, he still got it.
Tone, you're reeling us back in, Tone. Tony, what does this mean? Are we kicking Conan to the curb? Is old Carlos on the outside looking in?
Carlos.
Hit the bricks, Carlos. Hit the bricks, right? Listen, if Tone can get that CMLL relationship going, okay? Now, look, I don't know what that's going to mean. Does that mean he's going to have to stop? Now, look, maybe he'll sign up some of these AAA guys he's been using. I think he's got most of them signed anyway, right? I mean, we'll probably know more about all this for next week's show. And we should probably talk to Cubs and Bahari and people like that. Right?
Yeah, get the lay of the land of how this all came together. And
before we say dumb shit, right? Like, let's talk to some people and come back next week, because this is an interesting development. Very interesting development with the the political implications and everything else. So it's like in the chat, someone called him Cuban Russo.
That's so good. Carlos.
Oh man, Cuban Russo, I'm crying. Yeah, no, so that could be something big. I'm sure we'll try to learn more this week. I want to see what's going on there. But yeah, what's that? Rampage?
That is Rampage. Yeah, Mystico will be on Rampage. I also found out that he wrestled like 15 minutes away from me last weekend, and I had no idea. I never understand about it was the Galley Lucha, and I always know to pay attention to them, but for some reason their shows happen and I forget about them. And this, I'm kicking myself because somebody texted me and said, "Hey, are we going to the Viking or the Vikingo's there this weekend?" He's so I'll try to maybe get out to that show if I can. There's some stuff going on that day that I might not be able to, but yeah, someone texted me and was like, "Hey, you going to that show with Mystico?" And I was like, "Fuck, that is." I'm like at dinner with my wife. I'm just like, "Shit, how do I?" There's no way I'm getting out of this. I can't be like, "Honey, why don't we go to oh, hey, there's a wrestling show going on at this high school." I can't. You can't pull that one off, but yeah, it was I was like, fuck, I forgot about that. So I
never know. Is it going to be Mystico, or is it going to be some guy with a mystical mask?
I think Galley's usually pretty good. I don't know how they make any money.
True. Galley doesn't bring.
I don't know how they make any money. They're always booking dudes, and I'm just like, what the fuck? These are like, you can't be making any money on this show, right? And they might not, so I don't care. But anyway, that's I missed them. So hopefully, if you're in that area, to go to Rampage / Dynamite next week, you might not want to miss this guy. That's a hell of a booking, and there's going to be some ripples from that. That's not just a one-off, hey, let's book Mystico. There's something going on there, and we got to find out what that is, and hopefully we'll know by next week.
Are we getting any, the casual fan doesn't know who Mystico is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah, for sure.
We're getting it?
Yeah, unfortunately, Cubs is battling this war right now with people. So, yeah, we're getting a lot of, or like, Sin Cara, that guy stinks, like that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay. A lot of ass showing going on X, formerly known as Twitter. And that's, I'm more than happy to be away from it and let those guys fight that fight. But yeah, a lot of, who's this guy? Why am I supposed to care about this guy? And you know what?
I await the Raj Giri tweet. You need to explain to the casual fan who Mystico is. Because if you're married and you have kids, you don't know who Mystico is. I patiently await.
The last time we saw him, he was a geek. They got to reintroduce him. Yeah, okay. All right, well.
Isn't it on Rampage, too?
It is on Rampage, yeah. It doesn't matter.
It's a match at 10 o'clock at night for the fucking nerds that are listening to our show. That's what it is. So just fucking leave it alone.
It's for us. No, it's not for you. It's okay.
Yeah, it's for us.
Fastlane was for you. Us. Go watch Fastlane. We'll watch this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you are getting the casual fan thing, so there you go. Anyway, that is it for us. So again, flagshippatreon.com for all of our Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame audio. All the other stuff that we're doing is available there. All the other bonus audio, bonus written content, all that stuff is available at flagshippatreon.com. That is it for us. Voicesofwrestling.com for columns, reviews, previews of all these shows. As well, the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Make sure you subscribe to the full podcast feed on your podcast app of choice, as well as each individual show. That helps us out a lot if you subscribe to both. Subscribe to the ones that you listen to. Subscribe to the overall feed. Do whatever you got to do. It'll help us out. Rate, review. Also gives us a hand. YouTube, we are on YouTube. We're always trying to grow that channel. So youtube.com/Voices of Wrestling, or just search Voices of Wrestling on YouTube, and we'll have special audio shows up there all the time. We have some special clips from our bonus shows available there, as well as some live shows, including the Mike and JD show, which are live right now. We always talk about that on Thursdays. They go live in the midst of our show. I think they just went live about 20 minutes ago, maybe a half hour ago. So you can jump into the Mike and JD show after this. As we bid you guys adieu here. But that is it for us. That is Joe. I'm Rich. Flagship Podcast. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.